Welcome, everyone, to the Race That Decides 15. This, of course, is our live coverage of the 2025 Australian federal election. And believe it or not, actually, the third federal election that the racer has covered. So, really feeling my age here. I feel like Anthony Green rolled out every 3 years for this. Um, so, thank you for joining us. I'm Fenian, and just at the moment, I've just got Fluoride with us. How are you? How are you, sir?
Good, thanks. It's been a lovely day of it.
You got out and voted, I assume?
Yep. Past week's been rainy as fuck, but what do you know? It's beautiful, beautiful weather for voting today. Everybody's getting sunburnt, standing out, handing flies at the front of the thing. So yeah, a
Yeah,
polling.
yeah, that's it. I heard there's a few rabbis actually handing out flyers as well, interestingly enough.
Mm, highly recommend people to have taken those ones. Fucking frame what they gave you.
Right, right. So yeah, I guess we are just going to kind of cover things as they roll in, as we get results. Won't obviously be much for the time being because polls only closed in the east 1 hour ago, and here in the west they're actually open for another hour. So that being said, Anthony Green from the ABC did say that usually around about 10 p.m. Eastern is where you get uh, the result. And when I say the result, I just mean, who gets to form government, who gets to be prime minister. Specifics such as the makeup of the Senate we'll have to wait for further down the track. Also, every year there's always a record number of postal votes. So, even if you voted early, uh, chances are those votes won't get actually counted until after today. So it can all be strung out for a very long time. That said, I will just go over to the ABC now and F5 it, and of course, and because we are running through StreamYard, I can actually make the magic of um, sharing my screen.
Hmm. Can you just have the bottom half of it turn up where only the numbers go up?
Um, what do you
Oh,
mean?
yeah, the voted ballots, etc. Like you can cut it off so you can ignore the flashy going ons of the people on the screen and just watching those. I was thinking it was the ABC's live footage of it going down. Well,
Oh no, I'd get pinged for copyright if I did that. Um,
ah,
but yeah, look on the. I remember when we did XYZ live, we actually played little clips of the stuff that was on Dark Emu. If you know Bruce Pascoe, uh, he wrote that book Dark Emu that claimed that Aborigines were actually farmers rather than hunter gatherers.
oh, what with their
And
aquaponics and such?
yes, that's right. And their Stonehenges and whatnot. Um,
Fucking
so we actually
stonework.
we did that. Yeah, I remember we had Joel on actually for that one. Oh, and by the way, guys, Joel Davis will be on, but he said he can't pop in until about 8 o'clock Eastern. So yeah, just wait an hour or so. He will be on. Um, but yeah, I remember like as soon as I uploaded that, I got pinged by YouTube for a copyright strike, even though I only played like little bits of it. Um,
That's a
but that just shows,
quality bot then.
yeah. I mean, that's really. I mean, someone else did that. Like if someone was doing like a favorable review or something, there is no way they would have taken it down. They wouldn't have cared. And also, I mean, the ABC is a public entity. Uh, our tax dollars pay for it.
Yep.
Surely that would mean, like the content is free, and I shouldn't have to get permission to
Yeah.
use it.
They where I get the New Year's Eve fireworks show from.
Hmm. And I don't know if they've done it this election, but they always go on about how the ABC is going to have its funding cut should the coalition be elected. and that just never happens.
Hmm.
In fact, it just keeps going up. Uh, Despite the fact you know that like some backbenchers want to at the very least say to the ABC, okay, you can keep your current rate of funding, but you've got to actually obey your own charter. The ABC's charter says that they have to be an unbiased channel. Um, Yet they're
Hmm.
incredibly biased, as we all know. So they violate their own charter, and they're supposed to adhere to it or risk losing their funding. But that's never enforced.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, maybe it's a kind of a on a scale, on a balancing scale. It's kind of there to push it to be more favorable to Labour, so that kind of on an even playing field, one way would get even further than the one Liberal Labour, one would get even further pushed down than the other. But them actually being able to put the put the hurt to the Liberals without big money behind them, big money. It it just might be another method of how this system maintains itself
yeah,
by being left wing, by being it keeps the balance as opposed to everybody just going liberal at one point and then what is it supposed to do if everybody's going liberal? You have a charter, you have a you have a directions from the people to do stuff. It's equal it out so it's halfway to Labour.
yeah. But I mean, they're biased to the to the environmental left, the green left. I'd say like
Mm.
it's not even Labour. The amount of crap they put on there, like I saw some, I can't remember what show it was on, but it was a school excursion where these kids went to a museum that taught you what refugees go through, and it showed you like the size of like your detention cell and the tests that you had to do.
Did it
The
show the country
disease.
they came from?
Yeah, that's what they should do. Yeah, so no bloody wonder they decided to leave.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder they want to change it to over here. The exact same thing.
all right, so let's just go. We've got plenty of issues to talk about. As usual, I've got my Word document full of prep. Uh, So we will have plenty to talk about. The first thing I wanted to do was just show people the current makeup of the Parliament. So here we are. This is the House of Representatives, the lower house. Of course, it's made up of 151 seats. You need to get 76 seats to govern in a majority.
Mhm.
Currently, Labor are on 77. The opposition, which is made up of the Liberal Party, the Liberal National Party, and the Nationals, makes up 53 seats. For the minor parties, you've got four members of the Greens. And remember, last election is where they picked up three of those seats, all located in Queensland. You've got one member of the Centre Alliance. I believe that is the party that grew out of Nick Xenophon's uh, team. And we've got Katter's Australian Party. And, geez, as far as I know, Katter's running again, and he's 79 years old.
Well,
He just doesn't stop, that guy.
I guess hard work will make you live a long time.
Yeah, it's just in his blood. And then, of course, we have 13 independents, many of whom, of course, are Teal members. So I believe you've got at least six Teals in the lower house. And of course, you've got David Pocock, who is the only Teal in the upper house. But you're not supposed to call them Teals. You're supposed to just call them independents, even though all their policies are the same and they have the same people funding them and they wear the same colours. But no, they're not an official party. They're just independents. And they have done things like preference deals with other parties,
Mm.
uh, so called transactional politics that they have denied being a part of. But yeah, there
Only
are.
because it's unpopular, but it's incredibly practical.
Yeah, and everyone does it. And I mean, I don't know, on principle, I even don't really have a problem with it, unless you start selling out your voter base. And
Which is why you're there.
Well, well, look, I mean, that's what One Nation have done. All right, like, I mean, look, I still voted for One Nation in the lower house today, but basically because I had no other choice. I mean, I basically had them, the Libs, Labor, or two bloody marijuana parties, the Greens and
Yeah,
legalized
two
cannabis.
of them.
You know?
Legalized cannabis, and what was the other one? They had a thing of universal basic income. If you didn't
Oh yeah,
consider the socialists already have that in their
I mean,
fucking,
I didn't see that.
must
I
just be
did
where
like.
I am.
I'm sure your ballot paper was massive, right? Well, it'd have to be. You're in New South Wales, um, but everywhere the Senate ballot is massive, and like some of the parties on there, like there's no nationalist choice whatsoever. I mean, I know Jim
I
Salem
don't know.
ran.
The Nationals have nationalism. That means they're nationalists, right? Fuck.
You know, there might have been a time. There might have been a time. But you remember there was a branch of the National Party that our guys like, so-called infiltrated,
Hmm.
and then they were
Ran
just
for,
kicked out
were
straight
popular
away.
enough to become a part of, and suddenly they're then not for any communism or any of that, but then does the antibodies rear up and start striking with a vengeance. Suddenly the competency goes through the roof, and then wham, the only thing effective that could improve society is the thing that gets cold from these parties.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, that's of course what they call branch stacking. Uh, but I mean, in the case of Victoria, it literally took like uh, all this footage of this corrupt Turk withdrawing cash from ATMs and handing it out. It literally took like that investigation by 60 Minutes to finally actually do something about the branch stacking that included ethnic branch stacking in the Victorian Labor Party. But with guys like that, if they try and do it, they're out in an instant. The Christians in South Australia as well, because they wanted to take the South Australian Liberals in a more sort of conservative Christian direction.
Oh yeah,
As soon
and
as
that's a bit
they suspected
progressive.
that, boom, well, they were just instantly expelled. Instantly, they're like, "No, that's branch
Yeah.
stacking." It's like, what? Surely it is reasonable to want to attract people of a certain ideological bent to your party. That is the whole purpose of running a party, is that you have like-minded people with you, and you need to attract those kind of people to keep it that way.
Hmm.
I don't
That's fair.
understand why that's like, that is not branch stacking, if you ask me. That's just, playing by the rules. But anyway.
But law being the thing they're well versed in. If you get rid of the branch, if you go through a 10 years of getting rid of it and saying branch stacking is fine, then there's another reason. There
Yeah.
will laws up for your interpretation.
All right, let's go through. I've got some articles from the Australian we can have a look at.
Hmm.
So, this one, Albo had a lot of bad approval ratings in terms of his own popularity as leader and as prime minister. Dutton certainly had some bad ones as well. But this one here, that was conducted by Newspoll, found that, and this is just on the eve of the election, by the way, uh, Albanese had a 52% dissatisfaction rating compared to 42% satisfied. Um, Now, latest, okay, so two party preferred. Oh, wait, no. Who would make the better prime minister? 51%
Hmm.
think Albo, 35% think Dutton. So, yeah, there's been sort of a problem with Dutton and simply his leadership style and his personality, I guess, rather than the coalition as a whole. Uh, you know, I do think that his sort of Count Dracula appearance might have something to do with that.
Hmm.
And I question if he actually has any problems with his eyes. I honestly think he put those glasses on just to make himself look a bit softer, you know? Like,
Yeah. Rather than looking too hard, yeah, I guess Anthony Albanese does have the look of a politician. He's got the classical understanding of what you'd expect an Australian politician to look like. Here's a kind of a There's a kind of a way you'd expect him to be, and Dutton does stand out a bit. Big old bald head, tall
Yeah,
as fuck.
you know he's got alopecia, if you know
Alopecia.
what that is. Do you remember?
Uh,
Do you remember
with the
when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock during the
Panthera, what's the name of that Panthera album? Vulgar Display of Power. It's just
yeah,
slapping
sort of
him.
look like. Actually, I think some people actually made that. Like they changed the cover to the Pantera album.
Yeah, and put the title at the bottom.
Yeah, but do you remember why he did that?
Yeah, because
Rock,
he's mocking
he made a
mocking his
bald joke
fuck.
because yeah, Will Smith's wife has alopecia as well. That's why, yeah, no hair.
So everybody your hair falls out, yeah?
Not quite. If you look at like the back of Dutton's head, there's like a little bit there,
Hmm.
very little, and he basically has no eyebrows either.
Oh fuck! Now
And that,
you're making me want to, want to stare at his features and see if he's an A Lamau.
oh god. So well, yeah. Let's look at his dissatisfaction rating now. Uh, so again, this is the same one in News poll. Eve of the election, 60% dissatisfied, with only 32% satisfied. So there's an issue there. And I mean, look, if Dutton goes into this election and doesn't pick any seats up, if they still remain on 53 seats or whatever, I would say that he simply doesn't have the popularity as leader to be able to justify going on for another 3 years. Um, so it is harder to like roll someone as leader, but not really after an election. That's the time that it is usually done. Although the past few election cycles in Australia, it was a little different because you had leaders stabbing each other in the back so often. But as a result, both major parties actually changed the rules in terms of how they select their leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Kind of
but
keep it
on the other hand,
less dramatic.
I mean, they are hoping, and this is definitely possible. They could well take all six seats back that they lost to the Teals. Uh, we've covered that a lot on the Races War, and part of it is to do with the amount of money that Jewish voters are putting into the campaigns.
Mm.
Uh, and of course, the illegal, unauthorized flyers trashing the Teals that they had been distributing in Wentworth.
Well, I mean,
47,000.
if you can get away with that, and even if you're punished, uh, why wouldn't you just do it again and again? This might be the norm for being allowed to do it because you're allowed to do it. If anybody else does it, oh, that's not allowed. That's as in branch stacking. But yeah, here's here's the movie magic that were denied by by the fucking staff, making sure he doesn't look weird. Chris, well, you were
Yeah,
right. You fucking take off the glasses. Um, yeah,
yeah.
he's very.
That's why
Well, I don't want to
I
say it, but I
seriously
was going to
question,
say it. The ball sack look on him.
like, I don't think Dutton is looking through prescription lenses. It's just like glass. It's just like from a window or something. Because yeah,
Yeah. Doesn't want to be caught without them.
no, and he hasn't ever since he donned them. Like you never see him.
Glued
Um,
to his face. Whatever you do, don't
so
take
yeah,
this off. People won't vote for you if you look weird. It's petty, but it's gonna be true.
well, I mean, I note that this article is from June 2022, and that would have been back when he first became leader. So yeah, I can definitely see. Oh god, do you remember this one? This picture of him. I see this one all the time.
No, I missed this one. Is it a
Absolutely.
power outage?
I don't know what it was, but it's a real photo, and people would always post this one. Uh, and this is back where he's actually got hair. You can actually see he's got eyebrows. He's got real, actual eyebrows in this photo.
Yes, I might just take a quick sneaky screenshot of that and add it to my collection of funny avatars. There we go.
Anyway, I haven't asked Fluoride, what are you? Any big predictions today from you? You reckon
Ah,
Labour will be re-elected?
everything I'm hearing from the inside is really, yeah, Labour's pretty. They haven't gotten the it's time routine. If I guess as you're saying, if the Teals get creamed, that's setting up for the next election a couple of years down the track, and that'll probably be a blue one. You know, its time factor that keeps bloody coming up.
Yeah,
But this one,
yeah,
oh
so,
yeah, reckon it'd probably go red again, red party, but and
yeah.
also
So
probably as you say, Teals going down. Probably kick the Greens' asses a little too, because everybody's suffering a bit too much to tolerate the fucking Bills.
yeah, yeah. That I mean, that could happen in Queensland. Adam Band's seat of Melbourne, of course, that is rock solid, safe for the Greens, no question about it. But yeah, the three seats that they hold in Queensland, like Brisbane and Griffith, they're, as I understand, on pretty tight margins. They're traditionally Labor seats. The seat of Griffin, for example, was actually Kevin Rudd's seat, which was why
Mm.
I was so surprised when that
Remember
fell to the
Griffin?
Greens. Uh, so yeah, they could be on the chopping block as well. Uh, you know, today when I went to vote, I was actually only handed how to vote cards by two people, and that was for Labor and the Greens. And the
Ah,
Greens
no
woman
blue.
said to me, she said to me, "Vote for free dental," was what she said,
Oh, that's
and I
pretty
really
fair.
wanted it. But this is the thing,
Oh.
though. I've noticed especially in like the past 2 weeks of polling or so, the Greens had really been um, running on economics. Free dental care or denticare, I've heard it referred
Mm.
to as sometimes. They've been pushing hard, and also rent freezes as well. And I guess there's some people out there, and I'm sorry if I sound elitist or whatever, but they don't really know how economics works, and they think that, oh yeah,
Mm.
rent freeze, that means you stop rent going up. Oh yeah, you know, and then they don't think outside that what consequences, what externalities it would have. So that would
Well,
appeal to a lot of them. But have you noticed? I've not really noticed much campaigning on the environment, and of course they never talk about power bills, do they?
no. Well, I think we went over a case where they talked about it and were honest about it and said, yeah, we want to do this. It's for the environment. Sticking to their guns on that. Fucking Iron Manning the position and not popular whatsoever. Being honest.
Yeah,
But you're saying people, might not understand this, but you could also put it down to what do I need to survive? I could do with my all my teeth being done, and so that's very attractive to me. Getting my teeth done. So why wouldn't they go off of populist little things? Things that they can basically whip the party into if they've got a little advantage over them, just like they did with the $10 billion in renewable energy. They've shown they're willing to do things and just going to sit on it. Fortunately, it's been to the detriment of Australia as a whole.
yeah, and like, God, I'd be called a socialist for this, but I don't
Mm.
think that free dental care is actually a utopian pie in the sky kind of policy. I definitely don't think it could be implemented overnight, obviously. Uh, but let's say if you ran it in a country like Norway, where I believe they do have it, or at least a lot of it is free, it can be okay so long as you've got a high trust, functional, high agency society that generally takes after itself. in this case, brushes their teeth twice a day, it wouldn't be all that expensive. Here, where we've got a 2% Aboriginal population and an at least 20% non white population, on top of that, no, it just couldn't work. And
Well,
this is what Greens either fail to understand or are just denying. They think they can have all of these free things without restricting it in any way, and
mm,
you can't do it both ways, you know. Um, you can either restrict things by, well, just not having the government fund them in the first place, like with dental, or you can make it free or subsidize it when you limit the amount of people who can use it. If it was limited to white Australia, I think it would actually be very doable, be pretty affordable,
well,
and I might even look to vote for
can you do the cost benefit analysis of replacing every tooth in somebody's head only for them to die in their 40s because just kept drinking themselves? I think
it. Right.
even my dad yonks ago talked about the it was in the UK how one bloke had basically crashed and got every bone in his body replaced via the free air routine, and then done did it again or killed himself, one of the two. But he basically wiped out the yearly budget of this poor local town just by doing that.
Oh
But
dear.
there's also alternatives, the whole replace your teeth. There's also societal ones that slow steady wouldn't win you favors, like getting rid of sugars, getting rid of all the sugar in food, make it so you have to do it separately. Because I was talking to a French bloke, and he was telling me about in France, only in kind of pre-prepared meals would you find sugar. Everything else has the sugar separately. You got to add that to your stuff. Whereas in here in Australia, yep, they're fucking struggling. And here's the fun bit: Wheat Bix is the only cereal you could bloody find that didn't have sugar poured all through it. That thing would probably make your teeth last a whole lot bloody longer, and all the other health benefits are not scarfing down sugar. That's in your odd kind of tasty things, not just in your candies.
Yeah, I've for a long time I've found it ridiculous that a cereal like Nutri-Grain is promoted as like a health food.
Iron
Like,
Man,
yes,
Nutrigrain
yeah,
Iron Man. Yeah, look at this guy swimming on the box. Health food, naturally. It's got to be.
yeah, but it's fucking full of sugar. It's full of it.
Yeah, look at the back of that packaging. Read down the lines. Hello, hello, a mouthful of sugar.
Oh man. So look, on the other hand, regarding the Greens and what they might be likely to pick up, uh, they tell us they're confident on keeping those Queensland seats, but they're also going after Melbourne's inner north.
Mm.
So uh, I hope I get this right, but my understanding is that it's pretty hipster in those parts. Um, it probably overlaps into uh, the area that votes for Adam Bant as well. So surely they would have a lot of support over there. And also, like, I was really surprised, uh, even though I mean I shouldn't really be, but when the Greens won the 4 seats in the last election, I just kind of thought, oh, they must have won a bunch of Victorian seats. But no, it was simply one. It was simply Melbourne, which they've held, God, all the way since 2010, I think, is when Adam Band first picked that up. Um, so even though Queensland is often seen to be the Queen's Reich, it's often hailed as like the most conservative state in Australia. Uh, there's a bit of nuance to it. It's got some of the most conservative parts, like regions of Australia, particularly in the north, where you've got Bob Catter. But once you start getting into the inner cities, and remember, there's multiple cities like that are pretty big in
Oh
Queensland.
yeah, Townsville,
Like you go to
Brisbane.
Brisbane, Cairns, yeah, Townsville. Uh, yeah, that's when people start to get a bit shit libby. So
Mm.
it's weird how you've got like kind of two sides to Queensland. Um,
That and they're fantastic for tourism. I guess they've been suffering quite a bloody lot since COVID and everybody else not having enough money to tour the world and come to Australia. So
yeah,
yeah, probably being a bit difficult on them, a bit more difficult on them because they are kind of uh, yeah, tourism orientated.
yeah, yeah, they are. So it is. Yeah. So the three seats are Brisbane, Griffith, and Ryan. That was the one I forgot. And yeah, definitely. Last election was the biggest win they've ever had. Um, they still don't like kind of dominate the Senate, but often they do hold the balance of power. Um, and they have said that when it comes to Gen Z voters, they are actually, I mean, not surprising, they're more left leaning, but they're also more left leaning than previous generations. You know, they're more left leaning than the millennials were a few years back, or the X's were a few years back, and particularly with women. So
Mm.
it was often reported that like the worst demographic for Peter Dutton was Gen Z women, and
Mm.
I mean that's why yeah I mean Gen Z. I'm sorry, I'm going to call you Zoomers and not Zyklon. I remember there was a meme for a while that
Generation
you know
Cyclone, because they're all getting
yeah
radical.
because there was some hope for a while because there was a lot of young people into meme culture and hanging out on the chans and finding out that the best way to be transgressive was to be politically incorrect. And so, a lot of young people sort of made their presence known online, trolling comments in articles and all that kind of thing. And it sort of looked promising. But the reality is, they're just a minority, like, reactionary group against just how
Quite
shit
loud.
Libby the. Yes. So, that they stand pretty lonely in the face of a pretty degenerate Generation Z, I think. And so, it could be them delivering the Greens maybe another seat, in Melbourne today. You never know.
Well, they grew up old enough to vote, right? Yeah, the number will be the answer to that.
I've heard them make the argument that a young person's vote should actually be worth more than an old person's because
Like
they've got longer
calcified
to
old
live.
fogies.
Well, they simply argue like, all right, well, that person's not going to be alive for much longer.
Hmm.
Therefore,
What if
therefore,
you're
our
over
vote should
if
be
you're over
more.
65, you should be stripped of your ability to vote? Yeah, you are reliant upon the system if you're an old fogey. You are reliant upon that gives me that when you're an old fogey. I can see the reasons you would like it to be that, but maybe it would just be better if you had a longer term. Maybe one party sits there for fucking 20 years. You'd be able to get a whole lot of stuff that done without any excuse that this other party prevented us from doing anything. You'd be full of shit. You'd find a million ways to do it. 4 years, you can fuck about. You can lead people by the nose. 8 years usually. You got two terms and then it's time. Well, bloody eight
Well,
years.
you know what I'd like to know? Uh, Homosexuals have a vastly lower life expectancy than heterosexuals. Does that mean we should make their vote count less as well?
Mm, well,
The Greens also
that's
support,
sacred to us, huh?
yeah, the Greens also support lowering the voting age to 16.
Because get more people making silly decisions. Maybe it would be in their interest, yeah, but it's kind of just the they got their way, they got their power, and they were able to play their games. Now that people have had a mouthful of it, how many generations of or how many decades of people tolerating them and basically seeing them as a burden would you like? Well, The hippie class like them. Maybe as you get old and conservative, you might like them less. We'll find out as time goes by how popular the Greens are with people. Mm.
Well, look, it's definitely true that the older you get, the more likely you are to grow out of this stuff. But um, I don't know if I'm so confident of that when it comes to Gen Z in general, because they're just so submerged in all this. Like,
Mm.
uh, it's brainwashing that is pretty hard to shake when it is just so ubiquitous. Anyway, let's have a look. I had some other stories that I've collected throughout the week.
Ooh, what do you got? Free
What do
speech?
we got? Oh, this article. This was. I think this was a just an opinion piece in the Australian,
Oh,
and
there he
on
is, the old fogey himself.
there's Howard.
He does.
Yeah,
He
there's
doesn't
our
look like he's changed. He's aged today.
yeah, he's 85 now. But just like the last election, they're rolling him out because I mean he's the only living Liberal prime minister that you could call a hero or has a lasting legacy. Because no one's going to say that about Abbott or Turnbull or Scott Morrison.
Yeah. The ABC did a
Uh,
good job against Tony Abbott. Fantastic job against him.
yeah, and Tony Abbott was like, I think he was the first victim of the Teals
Hmm.
when Zali Steggall took his seat
Lost his
in
wave.
Warringah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back then it was what are they called? Oh, Get Up. You remember that lobby group? I'm
Yep.
not even sure if they're still
A
around.
victim of their own success. They they did their job, and that's it. Shot their load. Away they go.
Well, that's the thing. They focused so much on unseating Tony Abbott, which they did, but as a
Mission
result of that,
accomplished.
like,
What do we do next?
yes, yeah. But that was also when Bill Shorten lost, and for a long time people were saying that that was his unlosable election. That he was like guaranteed to get it.
Hmm.
Um, And if GetUp had actually focused on other seats, then maybe they could have pushed him a little over the line, and he would have come prime minister. Maybe, but no, they just put all of their firepower into Warringah because they were just so utterly obsessed
Hmm.
with taking out Tony Abbott.
Bloody guaranteed kill. They wanted it. They fucking. Well, how many minds? How many hours of work went into just fucking his shit up? It's impressive,
Yeah,
and it just shows how competent they can be. They can make a little group, fucking get it done, and they did.
they did, and that was all they did. I mean, was it worth it? I very much doubt it. Um,
But yeah, a
oh yeah,
framed
so
Tony
that.
Abbott head on your mantelpiece. I guess depends on
Look,
how
look,
much you hate him.
oh god. So, well, the point that this article made, which was basically an op-ed, was talking about how the major parties only attracted roughly one third of the vote in the
Hmm.
2022 election. So roughly one third of people voted for minor parties or independents. Um, so if you looked at actually the combined vote of Labor and the coalition in the 2022 election, it was just 68.3%. All the rest going to independents and uh, minor parties. Now, going into Saturday, it is looking like if you go on the current polling, they would actually only get a combined total of 67% of primary votes, which would be another record low. Uh, so, what does that show? Uh, I think it shows really two things. One, people are losing faith in the two party system or the two major parties. But the second thing it shows is that Australia is becoming increasingly divided. And I don't think it's any coincidence that as we diversify in terms of our ethnic makeup, we become more divided. And then we see that reflected at the polling booths. Uh, Other people will go on about how it's just about how the messaging is bad, or the major parties aren't doing their jobs properly, or whatever. Um, but no, I mean, this time we saw blatant ethnic politics used. It wasn't just the usual stuff of the so-called identity politics of the Greens, where they would campaign on evil white men. Uh, this was very much dominated by Semites. You know, the Jews may be successful in taking every single seat from the Teals. You've also got the Muslim vote, which, while not greatly organised, and certainly not as organised as the Teals,
Is a
uh,
forever growing menace. A fucking
yeah,
Casanova
and they really
on
became
society.
activated. They became activated because of a foreign conflict that has nothing to do with Australia. Yet that is where their loyalty lies. And if it wasn't for that, you would not have Australia's voice. Now, I'm not saying Australia's voice is going to go very far. That's Fatima Payman's party, by the way, if you didn't
Hmm.
know. But still, it was a fracture of the Labor Party. It was, one of their star recruits that broke away. And yeah, that is just sort of reflective of the overall political landscape at the moment. It is divided.
Hmm.
And we're going to see more of that.
Yep. They can't even trust
And,
their most shabos. They must be
and
Devo.
hopefully, the White Australia Party will be registered um, for the next election, uh, because yeah, you had no nationalist choice, unfortunately, unless you lived in the seat of Lindsay. You could have voted for Jim Salem, but that was about it.
Hmm. Well, if everybody else is doing it, you putting it up there and saying you're going to do it, how, the average Australian say, yeah, fair enough, you fucking starting your own for the white people, yeah, fair enough, everybody else is doing it. As you say, you got your voice for Australia, the Muslim Party, our new Muslim Party, huh? That's what it's going to be called. The
Now,
minaret for Australia.
so here, this was a story on Labor's attack ads, and Labor has been accused of basically just running a negative campaign, attacking the coalition,
Mm.
and not
There's
so
some good
much.
posters out there. Some really frightening, big old posters. Stuck outside the voting place, up
It
against the
definitely
fences and
was.
everything.
Now, but you see, if you can see these pictures, fluoride,
Mm.
like you notice they're really exploiting Peter Dutton's aesthetic here. They really emphasize the bald
Yeah,
head.
they've taken the glasses off.
Yeah, yeah. Again,
Hey, you haven't seen
it's
this
not
guy without his
us.
glasses. Look at him. Oh.
Yeah, because these ones, I believe these were social media ads. The scissors there, I think that was meant to represent, the cuts that they keep saying
Yeah,
the libs are going to
that's gone for
make.
decades to cuts. The liberals are coming to cut. Fucking effective though. Oh fuck, they're taking my bennies. Better vote red.
I don't remember if this video had the ads. No, I don't think it does. Um,
Your own chance in Buckley's of trying to actually find the ads. You probably get counter ads to attack your ads at this point.
yeah, what I get ads pushed my way when I don't want them, and then when I want to actually find them, I can't.
They flitter off into the distance laughing at you.
Yeah. Uh, so look, this also caught my eye because Anthony Albanese has joined Keir Starmer in the UK, telling everyone to watch the Netflix series Adolescence. Have you seen it, Fluoride?
Oh, is that the Australian version of Cuties? Fuck.
No. it's it's a UK series. Well, you can watch it on.
Ah, look at this white kid. He's gonna stab you.
Right? Yeah,
You can see the stabbing
do
look in
not.
his eyes. Uh,
Yeah.
they,
Now,
they always say that bloody Mexico has the piss filter going on in it. What's if the London kind of filter looking like, like washed out, black and white?
But I mean, do you look at that kid and think, "Oh, look, he looks so evil. He looks like
Yeah,
he could stab."
he's an actor.
I'm like, just. But you see, if you watch it, I have seen it. It's 4 episodes, and I don't think it's as good as a lot of people make out. I mean, like it was generally well scripted with good acting, but the kid who's on the page now, his acting was not very good. And yeah, of course, he's a child actor, and you can't expect much of them. But when you see that
I
scene,
I'm reminded of
that's where
Harry
he.
Potter.
It's where he's visited by a psychologist. And
Mm,
then there's a part where he gets up and he knocks his drink off the table and he starts yelling at her. And it's supposed to look like, he's gone full psychopath or something.
mm,
But it just was not convincing at all.
yeah.
Uh, it
So
looks so fake.
that's the only reason you'd stab someone because you're a full on psychopath and white, right? Not because you suddenly had the sudden urge to be incredibly fucking violent in school. Yeah, that's not why you'd take out your little knife you brought there for fucking
Yeah.
walking
So
the streets.
they're saying
Uh,
like the reason why he stabs the girl is because he was into incel culture and Andrew Tate, that kind of stuff. But also that she was bullying him on Instagram.
oh yeah. So basically, a warning against bullying, while also a warning against yeah, the fucking men going their own right way routines. Uh Men going
Yeah.
their own way and bloody abuse and use women routines. Bloody pimp
Well, look,
yourself out as a mercenary for Zog.
what
Fuck.
what is so ridiculous about that is, in the UK there is a lot of knife crime, and
Mm.
yes, you do have teenage boys stabbing teenage girls to death. That's true, but is it white teenage boys doing it? No, it's fucking blacks, and they fucking know that.
It'd be all over
Um,
the headlines if it was. And even though it's not, it's still all over the headlines here of this lovely little episode. Say 4 episodes of how Whitey's going to stab you.
yeah, yeah.
Two for
Oh,
flinching.
it's and now I think in Victoria, like they've outlawed machetes. In Queensland, you can be searched to find if you've got any knives on you without
The zombie knife
warrant.
laws. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what they would call stop and frisk in America. We've got all that stuff now. But every time, like on the racer, when we've covered these stabbing murders, um, I can't remember any white person doing it. It's always fucking blacks or Arabs or Islanders who are doing it, or Aborigines, of course. I mean, an Aborigine just stabbed to death a guy at um,
Yeah.
a liquor store in the Northern Territory. I don't know if you
Yeah.
heard about that one. Uh, and he was out on bail. And he was out on bail. His charges included rape. And this guy was out on bail, and then he went and stabbed an elderly white man to death.
Well, I guess they assumed he was just going to rape some more. I bet
Now,
that they were really shocked when he came into that liquor store and stabbed people and go, "Oh fuck, he's supposed to be a rapist, not a fucking murderer." Who would have thought?
where is the Netflix series on that? Where is that?
We have to make our own series with blackjack and hookers.
Oh god. Well, Oh, jeez, I have not read out a single result yet. Let me do that. So,
Ooh.
according to the ABC, the ALP are currently on 29 seats. The Coalition are on 26. None yet for the Greens, and 6 for the other independents and minor parties. So we're getting up there. I can see the ABC are interviewing
Hmm.
Jackie Lamb at the moment. I'm very hesitant to put that on the monitor because I think the ABC might give me a copyright strike again, and I
Get
won't be able
fucked.
to share this video. So I'll try to stay within the bounds today. I'm not even sure just how much I can show these articles that I'm showing up here.
Hmm.
Uh, but anyway, Just
We are talking a hell of a lot over them. So fair use, isn't that the American routine of it? Do we have that here as well?
yeah, yeah, we've got that. Um,
Small mercies.
we do have that. Oh yeah, so something that was like entirely missing from this campaign
Mm.
was religious freedom, because we
Yeah.
were supposed to have a Religious Discrimination Act all the way back when Scott Morrison was Prime Minister.
The old
Uh,
Scarbo.
he ended up getting shafted by his own members, like Trent Zimmerman, homosexual, actually not a Jew, despite his surname. But the moderate backbenchers, the kind of people that you uh, would be probably more at home at running as a teal. But they were the ones who said that they were going to cross the floor, and so it just never got up for them. Albo then said that he was going to pass some sort of act that enshrined rights in legislation, while at the same time balancing those rights with those of minority groups. And of course, there they're talking about LGBT plus
Yeah,
groups. So,
something of its own religion.
for example, um, if you look at Catholic schools and their hiring policies, this is true. Catholic schools have been caught for like rejecting employment, not hiring someone because they're a homosexual. That's true. In terms of actually sacking like a full time teacher because they found out later that he or she was a homosexual, I don't believe that's ever happened.
No, I guess their
Now,
gaydar is really, really, really good.
if it has, I don't care because it's a Catholic school, and if you force them to hire these people, then
Then you
it
start to
stops being
care.
a Catholic school. What's the point in being? It's not Catholic anymore if you can't actually adhere to your own value set.
Yeah,
If you
funny how that works. You have to, for liberalism, you have to drop all your beliefs in replacement beliefs, or get the chop. Well,
and
they
this,
used to give you the chop, just take you to the old guillotine. But nowadays, liberalism is much more subtle about that and doesn't want to create martyrs because when the chopping
yeah.
starts, it doesn't stop.
So I mean, it'd be even more difficult for Albo with his Labor team to pass laws like that, because basically you can't pass anything here without upsetting someone. They're either going to say that the pendulum is swinging too far in the favor of religious freedom, or they're going to say it's discriminatory. And that's why, in the past, like 5 years or so, even though there's been a lot of conversation on this topic, there's been no action. Um, they've just been trying to cobble together legislation that they can never get a majority on, and it
Mm,
just stays stagnant.
that's
And,
effective.
headline says, call for clarity. There's no clarity on this. Like, there's no messaging. Like, they're still saying, oh, yeah, we'll make the legislation, but we don't know what it's going to look like yet because we can't get any agreement on it.
Mm.
But
Well, kind of keeping the rules up and ready to drop at any time is a rule of its own. Keeping you get making you scared of what's coming down the line, keeping
I've
you s- uh,
I've made this point
unstably full
before, but like, if you're a homosexual, why on earth would you want a full time job at a Catholic school?
to
Why
subvert
would
the
you want to
Catholic
be
school.
part? Exactly, that's the thing. It's not because you're a Catholic. It's because you hate the church and you want to infiltrate it so that you can undermine its Catholic foundation. That's why you want to
Hmm.
do it, and that's why the Green support laws like that.
Do you see anybody doing that to temples? You see anybody doing that to mosques? I can see
No,
people doing it to schools, but
I mean, that said, the legislation would, of course, apply to those schools as well. But yeah, when it comes to the conversations we have about particular staffing issues or student issues, they're always just talking about Christian schools, particularly the Catholic schools, of course, because they kind of
Hmm.
dominate private schools in Australia.
But this would affect
Uh,
this new Indian school that's going up here in Sydney. And
well,
good luck
oh,
knowing
that's
what the
okay.
fuck's going on over there when it
Yeah,
comes to their religion.
you guys are getting the first Hindu school, aren't you?
Just fuck my shit up, fam.
Oh man.
Well, I guess in a society in there which they're willing to pay for it, this is no, it's not. Fuck off.
Oh, I had another point, and I just lost it. So
Oh,
let me.
sorry about that. I fucking
No, that
took it
was
away,
your fault.
chucked it into the distance, and it's gone. But yeah, we're talking upon this religious freedom of this religious methodology of well, just keeping it
Well, this
up in the air and not letting you know what the fuck they're gonna do with you. Fucking scary if your livelihood relied upon it.
Well, yeah, I mean, here's another one. Same thing. Religious leaders looking for assurances, and this time they're talking about assurances from the crossbench. Well, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
who's gonna
guys.
make the promises?
You'll get maybe Bob Catter on your side, but the rest of the crossbench, what you think you're going to get the Teals, the Greens, Tony Windsor? You think you're going to get them on your side? Hell no. So I wouldn't. Yeah, so they
Mm,
even highlight like the Greens MPs here. There is no way you would get them to support the kind of religious freedom bill that you would want.
mm. But you'd get
Um,
kind of their opinion on it. You'd be able to see who and who. I can see what they're doing. You can see who and who wouldn't you should vote for. Who's going to fuck over the Catholic schools and who isn't. And as you say, get Bob Cadders in an instant. If I can just texted him and he'd probably let you know. He's an open bloke,
yeah,
but
but I mean, you know, even with the Liberal Party, you're not going to get all of them because they didn't back ScoMo back in 2020 or whenever it was.
hmm,
So
yeah,
no.
bunch of
Uh,
mercenaries.
you know, I remember another thing that was really controversial when ScoMo was going to introduce his bill was
Oh yeah.
uh, they said that the draft bill would allow for transgender students to be expelled, um,
Hmm.
and it also
For being
would make it
for being.
so that a school did not have to use the preferred pronouns of that transgender student,
Well,
and
that's
that
like
was
that's sacrosanct to them. Dead naming is dead gendering, I guess.
yeah. What do they call it? Misgendering, don't they?
Misgendering. Yeah, and
Misgender.
dead naming is their old name. You know, like when you got a parrot that's learnt your name all its life,
Oh,
and the fucking thing will still won't call you Stephanie, even though
so like so if I say Bruce Jenner, I'm dead naming,
hmm, yeah,
right?
it's their old name. It's a dead name, you know, pretty and all that, and it's also the fucking like a religiously bad thing. It's like saying Voldemort.
Right, right. But I mean, in this case, like I can't imagine like any Catholic school, say, expelling a transgender student. You know, they might try to counsel
Con-
that student and
yeah,
tell
convert
them,
them ideally.
yeah, yeah, or maybe just say to them, this could well just be a phase that you're going through because of all the
God willing.
shite that is pushed on you all the bloody time.
Yeah,
Don't.
hopefully one day being a tranny isn't the greatest fucking thing on the face of the earth, and you were just saying it, and you didn't fucking chop your tits off or fucking chop your cock off. Lord help those poor bastards who have fallen for it.
The vast majority of children who present with, what they call gender dysphoria, the vast majority of them actually give that up after a while. Yet we keep pushing for surgical intervention at an early age because apparently that's the best time to do it because you can give them the
Yeah,
puberty blockers and prevent them from going through puberty. And
who wants to
apparently
have a fucked up? Yeah, bloody
the
Eddie. Who
transition
wants to
smoother.
be? Who wants to be a fucking stuffed up teenager on all the bloody pills that are gonna make you top yourself? Oh, fucking lock it in, Eddie. I'll take it. I'll take the. Well, that's the thing is you don't have to lock it in. You can just keep skating on I guess you can say you're what, a sexual, don't have sex, or you're a or you go both ways, or you non-gender and all that. Have a laugh and be a high class person without any of the affirming surgeries that'll fuck your life up or taking any of the pills. Hopefully, the kids kind of who are being popular aren't taking the shit. They're just saying, "I'm bi, I'm gay."
Yeah, well, they do that a lot. Well, the bisexual thing, that's what women do. Or,
Yep.
oh man, there's this girl I know from way back. She told me the other day, or a few weeks ago, that she is demisexual, and she was serious as
So you
well.
can choose what sexuality to be. Is that, or you're
Well,
only half gay?
do you know what demisexual means?
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. You're only partially
Okay,
of one sex.
I she had to remind me. I'd forgotten what it meant when she told me. I was like, oh wait, yes, I have heard that before. It's where you're only sexually attracted to someone that you have fallen in love with.
That's
Um,
romantic as fuck.
Now, but the thing is that that is just a heterosexual woman. That's
Yeah.
what that is. I know. That's all. And that's what I said to her. And I was like, you've never dated anyone else before. You've only dated men, right? So
Hmm.
you simply want to have feelings for that man before you do the deed. That is a completely normal, rational way of thinking, particularly for a woman.
We
And
call it
but she could
infatuated,
she
man.
couldn't see it that way though.
Yeah. There's old timey words for these fancy sayings that have nothing to do with the consequences of psychology.
Yeah, yeah. And there's all sorts of shit. I mean, universities have recorded like how there's literally hundreds of identities now. It's so ridiculous.
It's only limited by your imagination. So,
Yeah, I mean,
as many genders as you
uh,
like, mate.
when we were told that all we had to do was like make things equal with gay people, it would all just end there,
Yeah.
and
Just don't worry they're
sexuality and
holding
identity
hands.
didn't matter. But
Just
it
don't worry
is.
they're going in the bathroom. Just don't worry they're adopting. Fuck me, they're those poor, poor kids. God help them.
Oh yeah, I know. And by the way, there's plenty of studies actually showing that homosexuals who adopt kids, like those kids, are extremely maladjusted. I mean, it's sad that we even need studies to show us that. It should just be obvious, I think.
Yeah.
That is not a
Even
dynamic that's going to
even
work.
single kids with a mum or just a dad, shit's fucked. Um, but
A lot of
yeah,
the time,
just being
yeah.
a plaything or a doll adopted to these families, God help them.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I remember back when John Howard was Prime Minister, I think this was in the Australia Capital Territory. There was a woman who tried to access IVF, but she had no husband.
Mm.
Uh, and that was allowed under the territory law, but then John Howard actually intervened and overturned it
Oh.
because the federal government can do that for territory law. They have veto power.
Oh yeah, yeah, sudden swing changes because fuck all people.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's debatable as to whether that's fair or not. I mean,
Now that's the
there's been
tyranny
a
of the majority that you sometimes need. But I guess if they're allowed to do their own thing up there, problems would solve themselves, wouldn't they? And you can't
well,
have
I
that.
mean, like 20 years later or whatever, like he neither he shouldn't have bothered because it's just we've got that in droves now. We've got plenty of gay couples adopting kids, and there were there's been stories of like gay male couples who have actually produced child pornography with their adopted children that
Yeah,
they sell. There's stories like that out there. It's
yeah,
fucking
things that
horrific.
could be easily fixed in a correct society. Very
Yes.
easily be fixed. It wouldn't even happen in the first place in a correct society.
Um. Oh, here was something interesting. Um. I do remember this coming up in a previous election. Again, it's actually back in the John Howard years, but the Plymouth Brethren, I think they were also called the Exclusive Brethren. Uh, I remember the high school I went to, we had a girl who was from this group, and she wore like a weird kind of um, head veil. Have you heard of them, Fluoride, Exclusive Brethren?
Never heard of the Plymouths. Is that American?
No, they're here. I mean, they might
Oh, I
exist in
mean,
America as well,
yeah. Did they come
but
from Plymouth Rock in America
oh, they
and then
may well
mosey their
have.
ways over here?
I don't know a lot about them, but they're often referred to as a cult because they don't watch TV or use the internet or read the newspapers or anything like that.
Huh.
Um,
That'll help with your immunity to this
yeah,
bullshit.
but unlike say the Amish, they actually live among you. They don't find their own like primitive town or whatever.
Amogus.
Yeah. Now, like according to their religious beliefs, they don't vote, and you can get a religious exemption. By the way, if you didn't know that, there,
Ooh. Oh, that'd
there are
be
ways
handy.
to, there are ways of
No
getting
wonder,
out of it.
no wonder it's not very well known. People would be applying for it as Jedi all the time. A Jedi does not deal in absolutes. You can't get me to vote.
Well, but what I don't understand though, and I guess this is sort of the point of the article as well, is that these two individuals at the top, for example, that you can see on the screen, they're members of the Exclusive Brethren,
Mhm.
but they were out volunteering for the Liberal Party. And initially, the group had denied that any of them were doing that.
Okay. So
Turns
it's a
out they
sect
were.
that's allowed to lie then. It's allowed to deny their
Yeah.
existence. Doing a
Well, according to this article, they also told them to lie about the rules placed on them for voting.
all right,
In
that
other words,
doesn't
they were
sound
told
legal
like,
at all.
no. So it's weird. And this isn't the first time I've seen this. This happened back when John Howard was Prime Minister. And in that case, John Howard even had a meeting with some of them. Um, I'm not really sure
Uh,
why, because there be an extremely small segment of the population, and they don't vote anyway, or at least a lot of them wouldn't, because it's against their religious beliefs. Nonetheless, uh, they like getting out there, campaigning and handing out flyers to the Liberal Party,
yeah.
which is, yeah, a little
So they're
unusual.
big liberals. Now, here's a thing you mightn't have heard of, but I remember talking with quite a liberal little family, and them. It was just about COVID and a conspiracy theory of Gladys and a little sect that was had members aboard the Ruby Princess that dropped everybody off to cough on everybody during COVID, and basically in liberal in not liberal, very I'll just call them left leaning. What left in their circles? The only reason they believed they were allowed off that boat was because they were part of the sect and good friends with Gladys and all that, and so that's the only reason the boat was left off. So there are conspiracy theories that will spread around with funny little cults like this. So I can see it being very popular to spread these little weird little cult Christian origin, right? Cult.
They are Christians, yeah.
Hmm.
I,
So
I
lovely
don't
little
know what.
conspiracy theory that these people are hiding among us, subverting our society, I guess, by not telling you that they're religious weirdos. Yeah, it's a fun little story, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I know those little quirks about them, but I don't know like what makes them different from more mainstream denominations.
Hmm.
Uh,
A split somewhere down the line when they moseyed on off from the Catholic Church or Protestantism.
so, just reading on Wikipedia, so they split into exclusive and open brethren in 1848.
Ooh.
Um,
Ooh, that's a long bloody time ago.
And oh yeah, so they're from England.
Mm,
I see.
yeah, so a Protestant split. Do they
Yeah,
have big
weird.
numbers, or are they just a tiny little group of people that
Oh no,
the ABC decided to squint at for a bit?
oh no, they're very small. They're very small. Uh, and I mean, obviously, it looks like most of them don't vote anyway, even if they do hand out campaign flyers. So
Hey, you should vote for who I think should be in office. I need you to flick. I need you to flick this ballot.
you could, I mean, yeah, I mean, is this sort of like when Jews try to outsmart God, like
Hmm.
how they can make things work on the Sabbath day when they're not
Yeah,
supposed to.
you'd have what's called a Shabbos goy to help you around the Sabbath, do a little work inside, or work around and about for you.
Yeah,
But
but
there's been a
is
there's
that
been
what
a
they're doing?
yeah, I guess if they got a religious reason for getting you to vote this way, then they kind of have a need to get out there and get you to do that. Because if they're not doing it, they're, I guess, against the
Yeah,
odds of God not doing their duties kind of through
I mean,
works.
surely, if you believe God does not want you to vote, then He would also not want you to campaign for a political party. You know,
Mm.
like
But it's
just
not
because it doesn't say
you.
that.
It's a separate person doing your bidding for you. Um,
And
so
I've never thought that God would appreciate anyone trying to outsmart Him or find loopholes in His word.
he's been
You know, I,
known to
I
be
don't.
very catty. He's been known to be very fucking catty, and his chosen people were chosen for a reason, and they're chosen for a reason because hey, they did what he promised them to do, get all those lands, did what they were supposed to do, which was sacrifice and offering to God, and they did pretty horrifically, but hey, they did their duty. God chose them to do that, and you, they got their lands right. Bloody, there's Semitic people all over the world who have who own lands everywhere. So what do you know?
Jeez. Okay, I guess we can talk about the warring economy. Uh, so over at the Australian newspaper, they absolutely hate Labor's plans of capital gains tax on appreciating assets in funds that are worth over $3 million. So, talking about a small chunk of the population, there's not
Mm.
too many people who've got more than 3 million in super.
Unpopular with them, popular with everybody else. It's a win-win because
Yeah.
they can't
So,
outvote you. One person, one vote.
well, look, that's why they're going with a policy like this rather than say changing negative gearing. Because they don't want to upset the investors,
Mm.
uh, or like they when they failed again with Bill Shorten over the franking credits. That wasn't popular either, and that basically like destroyed any chance Chris Bowen had of becoming leader of the Labor Party. Um, so, according to this article, I don't know what to make of this, but it says close to 70% of voters in marginal seats are against Labor's plan for unrealised capital gains tax. Um, I really
Mm.
doubt that.
Well, it's a big
And
majority if it is. Fucking hell.
well, look, so they talk about the electorate of Goldstein here, where
Mm.
they did polling there, and it says, yeah, 68% of voters do not support that tax. I'm like, well, hold on a sec. The seat
How
of
much money
Goldstein,
does Goldstein have?
yeah. Not to mention, this is one of the teal seats that the Libs are trying to win
Oh,
back. So here we've got this is the candidate for the Liberals, Tim Wilson, and he was the one who actually held it prior to 2022 as well.
oh,
And
and
he's
his back
running.
room of vengeance with the paddle,
He's back.
getting ready to fuck them over for fucking him over.
He's back. Now, can I just point this out? What is that on his head? And what does that
Oh,
stand
it's
for?
almost fucking invisible.
Yeah, I hope other people saw this as well. You see that? The Australian
Mm.
Israel Jewish Affairs Committee. That's where he is. Okay, he's wearing a fucking yarmulke, and he's a homosexual as well. And not a surprise that 70% of voters in that electorate don't want you to touch their super. Wonder why. And
Hmm.
then and then the Australian makes out as if like that is representative of the whole country.
Of course, representative of a very important, marginal electorate. Worthy
Right.
of headlines.
Oh man. All right. What else we got on the economy? Um, oh, of course. So the Liberal Party's costings. So uh, talk about last minute. This was actually released only 36 hours before Election Day.
That's
To
not
be
very
fair,
effective.
it's not, but to be fair, Angus Taylor did point out that in the 2022 election, Labor did the exact same thing. So, you know, they're strategic when they do this. I've always found it a bit weird that, like, throughout an electoral cycle, parties tend to drop their policies one by one. I would have thought that, you should just put your whole platform out in one go and say, here it is. This is what we believe in. We're going to spend the next 6 weeks campaigning for it. Um, but no, that's not the way it works. They just do it in dribs and drabs. And so
Mm,
basically, the last big
give you
policy
little
that the Liberals
teasers.
announced. Yeah, so this was, their basic budget plan for the next 4 years. So they're saying that they will improve the budget by at least $10 billion dollars, and they're claiming that that will actually be carved out of Labor's funding of green energy, which is interesting because, of course, I don't know if you saw this when you went out to vote, Fluoride, but I saw heaps of those bloody. What will Peter Dutton cut to
Yep.
pay for his $600 billion nuclear program?
Yeah, that was the biggest banner I saw. Big
Yes,
big
huge.
triangular banner with fence
Yeah,
posts in the earth.
yeah, they've really been hammering it. And by the way,
Are
I've got a
you
on a
allowed to
story.
fucking do that? Ruin the fucking the grass around and about the place with your big old skier tactics. Fuck
Yeah,
that.
well, one of the ones I saw today, there was a poster next to it that had a finger pointing
Yes.
to it. You saw that? And it
There's
said
well, not
another
not
Labour
that
lie.
particular one, but there's right next to like a blue poster would be a fuck the blues poster. Things along that lines. I don't remember that before, but I guess it's in. I
Yeah,
guess it's allowed
this one just
nowadays.
had a finger pointing to that sign, and it said
Yeah.
another Labour lie. I thought that was pretty effective. But anyway, uh, if you believe the coalition, their plan is actually going to be a lot cheaper. It's certainly not going to be anywhere near $600 billion. And
Mm.
according to their own costings, it would actually save $10 billion. Now, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I will definitely say this: nuclear is cheaper than renewable. I think we all know that.
Mm.
Uh, and it would actually be, like, comparatively, it would be even cheaper in Australia, considering we mine our own uranium here and we've got abundant supplies
Oh
of it.
yeah, we got that
We've
sweet, sweet
also
rare earth.
we've also got abundant supply of empty land where we could put the nuclear waste and we could store it there very safely as well.
Yep. It basically sits in a barrel, bit under the earth, and there'd be no reason you'd dig this shit up unless you were being a little shit. But it'd sit there, it'll do its half life, it'll do its half life again, do its half life forever until I guess you wanted it for whatever reason. I don't know, depleted uranium. You want that for wars? Some thick metal to make your tanks out of? But yeah, and be less radioactive. I guess, hey, probably a business into the far future for harvesting that shit.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'm gonna get sidetracked here. Actually, I'm gonna skip ahead to another story. Considering we're talking about nuclear,
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to talk about that $600 billion figure. That,
Hmm.
yeah, is, everyone would have heard this by now. Um, so here was an article on this is from Nuclear for Australia, which, not a surprise, is a lobby group for nuclear power in Australia.
I
Now
noticed
that's
him.
the $600 billion price tag. Well, I found the website, the article that first made that claim. I'll show it to you. Here it is. So first thing I have to point out is that it said it would cost between 116 billion and 600 billion. Okay, so the
So the
600
smallest
billion
estimate, if you
was
wanted
the
to make
yeah.
look good,
So,
or the
so
600
that guy,
billion like we're seeing here to make it look bad.
right? So this was the very very highest that they estimated it would cost, but that's not
Mm.
the important point. The important point is that this was put out by the Smart Energy Council, which is a renewable energy lobby group. And not just that, they donate money to the Labor Party. So this should fall foul of electoral law. It's false advertising.
Oh.
Labor should be pinged for it.
Ah, I know
But of
this
course,
trick.
we're more worried about guys handing out like joke leaflets dressed as rabbis instead.
Yeah, and
We'll
less
look at
worried about
prosecuting
ones
them.
that don't have their where they came from on it. But I've heard of this tactic. It's kind of, what is it called? Self-referential. You put a article out there, and then you get a main article that references that article out there. And this is really handy because if you Google it, if you get an AI fucking grok, Jarvis, tell me what's going on with this $6 billion one. It'll go to the referenced one. So you're doing the easiest thing possible, and so is the AI. It'll go to this and let you know exactly how it is from this article and the referenced article. Kind of,
Yes.
yeah. Probably won't go to the source article. I don't kind of Wikipedia has a lovely little rule or whatever that means. You can't get it from the horse's mouth. You need to get it from a secondary thing, and maybe AIs work that way as well. But yeah, very fucking effective tactic of doing this. And it's done with hit pieces all the time, I guess. And this is a hit piece and a half.
Yeah, but I mean, the unfortunate thing is that a lot of people believe it, you know, and I guess also those myths about nuclear power do persist, and it's hard for people to get out of that mind frame. They've actually found that a lot of people have gotten their ideas about nuclear power from The Simpsons,
Mm.
and Homer working at the nuclear power plant, and three-eyed fish, and all that kind of stuff. The acid rain that they would have. And while that all that stuff is funny, it's not true. None of it is true. Um, but yeah, if you look at this article, they make the point here that they took the most expensive nuclear power project, extrapolated it, and then doubled it. That was how they got to the figure of $600 billion. Um, Another lie that's been put out is that even once you did build those seven reactors and got them online, that they would only make up 4% of the grid. That's another
Oh.
bullshit figure that was put out by the Smart Energy Council. 20 years to build. Um, so there's been other studies that found here that it actually takes between 10 to 15 years, and that's to build an entire nuclear industry. Um, Now,
I know you kind of with tooling and all that, with kind of manufacturing of cars, you need about 5 years before people are pretty bloody good at it and they've got a fine market. And that's the actual people themselves actually being trained to do what the fuck they're supposed to do in this industry. So, yeah,
mm,
fucking 10 years for a very. I'd imagine it's a bit higher up there on the scale of maintaining this stuff, but once it's going, well, in some horrible cases, it doesn't stop going. But yeah, once it's going, it's
yeah,
good to go for fucking ever until you want to collapse the bloody thing.
yeah, and at risk of sounding like a Liberal Party shill, like they have been honest about how long it would take. They're saying, yeah, all right, it may well be 10 years down the track, but in the meantime, we've got a plan to put more gas in the market as well.
Hmm.
Because obviously, you need some kind of reliable fossil fuel in the meantime. And by the way, you would need to do that even if you didn't use nuclear. Because if Labor have their way, and I think they will win today, they're going to continue down the renewable energy line, and they are going to have to rely on gas as well. Unless you want blackouts, unless you want like what just happened in Spain and Portugal, where they are over reliant on renewable energy and they had massive blackouts, that's the only thing you can do because we've gutted our coal industry. You have to use gas. So this is actually one of the areas where I say the coalition is different from Labor. I really wish they would just scrap the net zero by 2050 target, and I think that would actually be very popular as well.
Mm.
But they don't seem to have the balls to go that far. Uh, Maybe
Maybe
they
when
think
people are
nuclear is
suffering
always a
enough,
stretch.
when people are really fucked up about it and the prices have gone through the roof, they can dangle that carrot and do a tuppence of what they're promising for us. But
Yeah, but don't you think we're
fuck.
already at that stage? We're at a stage with ridiculous inflation, ridiculous rent, house prices, petrol prices, grocery
Hey,
prices. Like we're already at
hey,
that point.
you can still afford meat, can't you? When you can't.
Oh,
I had a couple of weeks ago, I got off Lent and back into buying meat again, and oh fuck me, it's been a kick in the balls.
oh yeah, it is expensive. Um, and I do love a good rump steak as
Mm.
well. Yeah, break the bank balance though if you have too much of it. But the other point I was going to make, well, how long does it take for a big renewable energy project? How long does it take for the snowy
Oh,
hydro, for example?
what about that hydrogen plant?
Yes, all the bloody hydrogen plants that we end up just closing down, or the solar farm in Queensland that they closed down as well.
Come on,
What about all of
third
them?
hydrogen plant, third time's the charm. Fuck.
The last count I saw was six. Six of them had either been closed or scrapped.
Who are we testing this technology for? For fuck's sake!
So no, nuclear is a very good idea.
Yep.
Um, okay, now what was the other story we were doing? Um, oh,
Oh,
of
we're
course,
scrolling all the way up again.
the budget.
We got a
Um,
lovely little tangent to go on there, but yeah.
so I think, yeah, when these figures came out, I mean, like I said, they only just came out. Uh, oh, sorry,
Hmm.
same one.
36
Bloody
hours
hell.
ago. Bloody Australian.
Oh,
Work, you
this is
bastard.
so. Judith Sloan, she's an economist who is by no means a fan of the Labor Party. She's basically a conservative economist, and at the moment, she's probably my favorite economist to read because she very often takes into account immigration. I prefer to her the general conversation about immigration to be based on more cultural grounds, but it's still definitely appropriate in today's economy to talk
Mm.
about how immigration leads to rising prices. So, anyway, Judith Sloan said here that going through the Liberal Party's costings and some of the claims that they make here, such as a $40 billion cut to government debt, just doesn't add up. Uh, and yeah, I mean, they've been talking about, like I mentioned one thing before in terms of cuts, which was say cutting renewable energy. Um, but then they also said that they oppose Labor's 20% cut to HECS debt or student debt. But they're just little things. You add them all together, you don't quite get to $40 billion. So I
Mm.
think
So she's
either
calling
way,
she's calling it out as being bullshit. Just
yeah, she is. And she's definitely not an economist to shill for Labor at all. She's sort of one of those traditional conservatives who's very much interested in balanced budgets. So she's willing to be hard on the coalition if she doesn't think uh, the numbers add up. Anyway, she said that according to her um, calculations here, you'd actually end up with $150 $2 billion in deficit. So
Still
yeah,
being fucked. Ooh, that's a
yeah.
big that's a big fucking difference. Unless they know something she doesn't know, but are, are they able to hide any of it, or they just say this plus we're going to be $40 billion in debt? Because bugger me dead, that's a big difference that she figured out.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, if you look at this article, they're saying, it's not just due to Sloan. It's well, it
Hmm.
says budget experts. There's ABC, of course, so be skeptical. But no, apparently other economists have looked at this and they're just saying it doesn't add
Well,
up.
maybe a lot of
Um,
these things are coming through as being they've accepted the defeat already, and they're just trying to fucking scratch and poke them in the eye and jab them in the knee as they go down. I can try and make life as painful as humanly possible this election for Labour. Maybe that's all the fucking they've come to, but risky bloody thing making promises that you never intend to keep because it'll be some other guy down the track. Not very proper.
yeah, well, look, I mean, I know it's a bit early to do this, but I do predict that, at least right now, I do, that Labor will lose the next election, because the coalition will sort of have an its time factor on their
Mm.
side after two
Plus a bit
terms.
of
I don't know.
suffering of the people
Yeah,
down the track.
I was going to say, but there'll be a hell of a lot more suffering during that time
Mm.
because Labor are not going to reverse any of the key issues that people care about. And of course, cost of living is the number one issue, and that cuts across party lines and ages as well. It's just the Australian population in general, of every demographic, cares most about the cost of living. And I mean, what are Labor actually going to do about it? Uh, they're going to give you like a tiny tax cut that doesn't come into effect next year,
Yeah,
and then they
about
give you
$75 worth of power bill for 2 years.
yeah, and they'll give you energy rebates. Never mind the fact that your prices just keep going up, and those rebates never make up for it. Uh, that's all you're going to get. So people are going to be hurting a hell of a lot more. And of course, I mean, they told us that they will cut down on student numbers. Well, I mean, they were supposed to have done that a while ago. So let me just bring up some article I just remembered. This is from the Institute of Public Affairs.
Mm.
Um,
So Labour's saying that they were yonks ago saying they're gonna get rid of a few students, and here again they're saying they're gonna get rid of a few fucking students.
but we keep ending up with record amounts of them. Even though the universities piss and moan about like lower class sizes and stuff, we still bring in record amounts of them. And yeah, I just don't, I don't trust them when they say uh, that this is going to happen. And another way that Labor is saying they're going to increase revenue is by increasing the visa application charge. Now that will, and will continue to just attract the rich students who tend to come to Australian
A higher
universities.
class of student.
Yeah. Um, yeah, but I mean, if you look at other policies of the Liberals, like taking 25 cents off the excise tax of petrol,
Hmm.
um, like I said, not reducing the student debt, all of those things obviously cost money. And when you add it all up, it doesn't look like you're left with any savings at the end of it. And a lot of economists agree with that.
I mean, how would you deal with in this political circumstances? How would you deal with like having a national energy thing? Like, if you wanted to do oil, surely we've got fucking oil up north. Bloody wanting to start a bloody oil refinery here in Sydney, for example, over in Western Australia, in Perth, for example. Probably,
Yeah.
yeah. How would you actually manage to do that? Much easier to just, oh, fuck. Yeah, because it's gonna take longer than your election time to start up that industry. and to reduce it, and you'd never see any of the gains. So best we can do is a tuppence of money off of the tax. I'm fucking you at the Bowser.
Like I honestly think though, if the Liberals came out and said, "Oh look, we'll be honest, we're forecasting a budget deficit," I don't think people would really care. You know,
Ah,
not
I
not
reckon
if
it takes the screws out of the Labour though. Basically says, yeah, we would have been in debt as well, and then Labour could say, yeah, we both would have been in debt, so there's no difference. So it's fine that we're in debt, yeah. That's how they bloody flying that would fly that very easily, very easy turnabout to say the relativism of would all be in debt no matter what we did. You can't let your opponent get away with that, now can you? You know, fucking
well, you
oh,
can
fuck,
you can
what?
just say, well, all right, we forecast a deficit, but it's going to be smaller than what theirs is. Uh, as long as the public believes you in terms of cost of living, and
Mm,
and the unfortunate thing is, even though the Liberals have been saying they're going to put the budget back into surplus, most voters, this is a news poll anyway, actually trust the Labor Party more when it comes to the cost of living.
mhm,
Uh, I think me and Olsey talked about this in the last episode, and I said maybe industrial relations policies might have something to do with that, because there is a perception that the Liberals want to cut your wages,
mhm.
particularly if you're in a union or if you're in the public sector. And that's why that stuff where they were talking about scrapping work from home, that's why I think that was such a disaster for them, because the public generally just say, no, what are you talking about? What are you taking away worker rights for? Everyone is doing it tough right now, and you want to make things more difficult for us?
Even if it's a public servant, the I guess the empathy is higher than the dislike for the public service.
Mm. And so remember, Labor passed a late budget. It was actually Jim Chalmers' fourth budget, even though they'd only been in power for 3 years. And that budget projected a deficit. So Labor went into this election with a deficit, but they've
Mm.
said, don't worry, we've got cost of living relief for you. Now, I obviously don't believe that those policies will work, but it does look like the Australian public in general trust that plan over what the Liberals are offering. Um, and yeah, I do think industrial relations might have something to do with it. They don't like a tax from work on home. They don't like a tax on the public sector. They don't like a tax on uh, same work, same pay. Uh, that's where sometimes companies they get away with paying their employees less by just hiring them through a labor hire firm or hiring them as independent contractors, that kind of stuff.
What a
Labor's
shitty way of
actually,
doing things.
yeah, like Labor's passed some laws to stop that kind of shit happening. Uh, the Liberal Party never would have passed laws like that.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
people know that.
removing those is just removing jobs. The people who facilitate such fucking
I know.
middlemanism. Ugh.
Well, they'll tell you it's like taking away the independence of
Hmm.
of, of
You might
people
you
who
might
run their
find
own
yourself
business.
you might find yourself hocking people as human flesh and fucking their wages over it. In fact, your business may be the only people hire people from because you can get them for cheaper. Fuck.
And I mean, are people really fooled by that? The idea that if you've simply got an ABN, that means you're some kind of entrepreneur. No, that's a way for your employer to screw you. That's what it is. There's nothing upwardly mobile about it.
Yep.
But
So
that stuff, I think people trust Labor more. And they think, well, if we've got a cost of living crisis, uh, we need to look after particularly vulnerable people who are on low wages, and the Liberal Party don't want to do that.
hmm.
I think that's part of it.
Well, maybe they'll do it next election, and they're just keeping the powder. If they basically said no chance, keep the powder really fucking dry, the driest powder you've ever seen for years on end. That's defer of gratification if you want to put it as that, and then they strike with the yeah, we're gonna fix all your shit up, and people be right on board after suffering through another 4 years of it.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, oh, this story was about Anthony Albanese calling himself an economist.
Mm.
Uh, really thinking back to the last electoral cycle when this was going on, uh, he was not able to name the current rate of interest or the current rate of unemployment in Australia. If we remember that ad that had a picture of Albo like sticking his tongue out, the Liberals were running. That's where that came from. Um, so later on, Albo said that he was an economic advisor in the Hawke government.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. He was like a campaign staffer for some Labor Party member that everyone's forgotten now. He was never there in a capacity as an economic advisor. Now, still, he calls himself an economist, and the reason why is because, well, that's what he studied at uni. Did a degree in economics. Well, I'm sorry, that
Is
still doesn't
that like
make you an
doing a
economist.
is that like doing a degree in warehousing logistics? I am a warehouser. I am a
I don't
logistician.
know. I'm not even sure if economics, that just might be one of those degrees that just gets you nowhere. I'm not really sure.
Well, you'd think they'll teach you how to do your taxes in school.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
guess
there's
I
also
guess they
stuff
got a
like
tape
that.
course for that.
There is like a lot of basic like accountancy stuff that they should teach you in high school, but don't. Um,
I guess, I guess the cost benefit of teaching you to be wise with your money is a bit, yeah, fucking counterproductive to getting you as a lovely little worker drone in the system.
hmm. um, have we got anything else on the economy? No. Okay, let's move to the issue of housing because this, of course, is a major um,
We love
issue.
houses, people.
Um, let me bring up the story. All right, what a surprise that the target for building new houses by the Labor Party will not be met. And these are figures coming from Treasury. Okay, in other words, official government figures.
Fuck.
Um, so this was the promise of supplying 1.2 million homes by 2029. Um, and
Is this
so,
over all of fucking Australia, including
yeah,
Tasmania?
overall of Australia. Yep, yep. Um, So it
Yeah.
says Treasury modelling indicates the government will miss that target by roughly 300,000 dwellings unless it induces a historic and sustained uplift in construction activity across the country.
Now that's
It's
something he
currently
could do.
constrained. Says currently constrained by a raft of barriers including labour supply shortages, land availability, interest rates, and lagging productivity. All right, now I think we should deal with those like one by one.
Hmm.
So labour supply shortages. Well, this this is the one that's picked up the most, and it's used as an argument to actually bring in more immigrants. Now, if you were to say bring in skilled trades for people who only work on houses, you could make that argument. Um, as opposed to say bringing in lots of foreign students. If you did some sort of a trade-off, I can see how that argument could work. But that's not what any of the major parties want to do. Uh, the Liberal Party basically wanted to maintain current levels, even though they said they're looking for a 100,000 person drop um, for net immigration in 1 year. I don't believe them. But all they did was just talk about like handing out visas and making them slightly easier for skilled workers to get. And the other problem with that is even if they do come in saying that they're a carpenter or a painter or whatever the hell, a lot of them just end up driving a fucking Uber,
Yeah.
or they end up enrolling in some shit course or whatever. They don't always go into the industry that they say they are. Um,
Yeah, the things that you need as opposed to the supply industry for everything else that you could earn more money on and perhaps not
yeah,
break your back on.
and what's more, because of the free trade agreement that we have with India,
Mm,
that's not just about bringing more Pajeets over. It's also about recognizing their qualifications. And
yeah.
you might as well wipe your ass with their qualifications. They're worth fucking nothing.
Here's
Uh,
that good game everybody can play whenever you like you pick a spot, any spot in India. You Google map your ass down there and you and you stop looking when you first find your first pile of fucking garbage sitting there. And the buildings aren't that high around them either. Fucking hell. Some of that
so, I
shit's
mean,
just swampland.
well, here's what I would do. I would have a net zero policy for immigration. Fuck having one for climate change and emissions reductions. I'd have a net zero immigration policy where for you can only have one person in for one person who gets out. And what's
Ah,
more,
this is Trump's little trick, wasn't it? With putting
yeah, but he won't do it.
policies. You want to
He
get rid
won't
of
actually.
you want to put a policy in, you got to get rid of X amount, right?
Yeah. Obviously, I would make it then that for that person that you let in, they must be of European descent, obviously.
Mm.
But then I guess I would just also give priority to those who could work in the construction sector. And that way, you would actually get well qualified whites in while actually keeping downward pressure on demand because you're not creating extra demand in the housing market that is obviously the main cause of pushing the prices up. That's what you could actually do. And on top of that, I would also make sure that we're training more young people to go into uh, trades. We still have a culture in Australia, I think, and across the West of telling high school kids you must go to uni, and if you don't, you're a
Yeah.
loser. You know, we've still got that bloody culture, even in
It's high
WA where we
class
have
to
our
go to
mining
uni.
sector.
It means you're going somewhere, right? But I reckon you can
Yeah,
pick up a family without being a uni person, especially
man,
if you're fucking
I
trade.
know tons of people who never went to uni and earn more money than I do. You know, and I just kind of think, what was I doing? I wasted my time. I should have done a trade or whatever. Plus, I could have just started working as soon as I left high school. So that's a part of it as well. Okay, let's look at the other one, land availability. Well, this is an issue that green groups cause, where they tell you there's some
Mm.
endangered lesbian beetle in the forest, um, and therefore you can't clear that land. That's one of the issues there. I have no problem with building out. I've said many times before I don't like the idea of building up, meaning increased density. But that's also what they're talking about when they mention land availability. It's not just freeing up new land; it's about adding density to current land, where you subdivide properties and build apartment blocks.
Here in Sydney, it takes 20 years to open up a block of land to start your development on the bastard of a thing. So
Mm.
that really
Yeah,
restricts supply. Plus, we're
right.
completely and utterly fucking surrounded by state forests. Those forests can be unstate forested, but you're out in the boonies at that point, going to a megaropolis. So you do need those fucking awful apartment buildings where people are stacked in like sardines.
Unfortunately, but I mean, look, uh, I know that like criminologists, they actually talk a lot about the issue of housing density when it comes to patterns of crime,
Hmm.
and it's not a big surprise that in highly dense areas they have increased crime. Uh, One of the reasons is that you've got simply more opportunity. There's more people with more stuff around.
Mm.
The other thing is because there's more people, you're less likely to be recognized. But also,
Ah,
when you
yeah.
have when you have everyone in small groups, you don't really have much visibility. So if an apartment is getting robbed or something, there's not really anyone around that can see that going on unless the neighbor sees it. You know, it's different to say being out on the street in an open area with street lights and a lot of people who, live on the road and can see what's going on. And so that's just one example. All right. Like you have a way higher crime rate in densely
Hmm.
populated areas, but you've
That
also
and
just got like
the
lower life
services are
satisfaction.
lowered.
You've got more health problems. You've got lower life expectancy. You've got the problems just go on and on.
Yeah, we're
There's a
blessed
reason
here.
why there's huge suicide rates in Tokyo, for example.
Oh, we're blessed here in Sydney. I know that you can't swing a dead cat without hitting a tree, greenery, a bloody shrubbery. There's green everywhere. There's bays. It's fucking beautiful. Um, we oh, what the hell was I going on about? We do have a beautiful areas, and we do have some beautiful, all right looking buildings. And I don't reckon the beauty of things via the trees getting rid of and bloody grass being removed can improve things. But cities slowly grow. They get more awful in the middle of it, and yeah. But looking back to these numbers here and say, oh, 5 years down the track, is that even enough? Yeah, we were talking about how many people we're bringing in. Is that even enough to supply homes for those people you're bringing in? Not fucking nearly enough. And you're bloody
No,
dropping
it's not.
those numbers down by less than a million. Sweet bugger all. The gonna have to have different laws in stacking people in apartments further. Maybe subdividing your fucking apartment, little apartments in order to stick more people in, and just stress the systems of the locales about. It's gonna get pretty fucking bad over the next 5 years.
Of
Five
course it will.
five years until it's done.
I mean, you've got. I remember we covered the new rental laws that they brought in Victoria a few years ago,
Hmm,
and these were to stop practices like hiring out beds in a bedroom.
yeah.
So there were landlords who weren't just hiring out like just a bedroom in a house. They were hiring out the bed, and you share that room with like three other people. There was shit like that going on, and all of them were either Asian or Indian, like
Hmm.
some kind of Asian person. Um,
So we got a
we
black
just didn't
market.
have that
We got a
problem
black
before.
market for cigarettes. We're getting black markets for fucking homing. Fuck.
Hmm, yeah. All right. Well, the other one, interest rates. Well, all right. That's obviously just an economic issue. Uh, we've got uh, a surplus amount of people in here who have been spending a lot of money. That's obviously going to push prices up, that pushes interest rates up. But this last one, lagging productivity. Isn't it funny for all these workers that we import from the third world and how we continue to pay them less? We don't seem to actually be reaping any benefits in terms of increased productivity. The numbers tend to go down all the time, which shows that if you look at this on a macroeconomic scale, uh, third world immigration, while it might be good for an individual company because they save a bit of money, overall, you're looking at lagging productivity across the country for all these third worlders that you are bringing in. You are getting monkeys because you pay peanuts. And it's been like that for a long time.
Oi, Fenian, when's the last time you heard the saying "diversity is our strength"? Because it's been a fucking while for me now.
Yeah, but like I've heard arguments where people say, well, look, it's still like good from an economic point of view. It's not. I mean, it might be good for big capital. It might be good for people at the top,
Mm.
but overall, it is not. It is not good economics. Um, Might be good for Gina Reinhardt, who said that she'd basically like to replace her entire Australian workforce with Africans because white Australians demand too much.
Well, if she likes that too much, then go over to Africa and start up a business there, you bitch.
Yeah. Um. Oh yeah, this article. This was an
Captain
interesting
America
one.
over here.
So this guy, well, I mean, look, he may not look like it, but that guy's actually a multi-million dollar property investor, even though
Yeah.
he's dressed like a hobo.
Well, he doesn't
Uh,
get keep those millions by splurging on stuff he doesn't need.
yeah, that's right. But so they go through this guy's story, and he refers to himself as a property flipper. And so what he does is he
Hmm.
buys a property one year, he does it up and holds on to it for 5 years, and then he sells it. So that's what he calls flipping it out. And he does this with multiple properties. Basically, every year he sells another one at an inflated price, and he gets absolutely filthy rich from it. Now, the reason why this is worth talking about, and I believe it's mentioned in the article, is that the number of homeowners and home investors in Australia is much larger than the amount of home seekers. In other words, it's a bigger proportion of the electorate, and you're going to lose votes if property prices go down. And
Hmm.
I think I made this point before. Neither Peter Dutton nor Anthony Albanese have actually ever said that they want to see house prices or rent prices fall. They've never
Quite
said
the
that.
opposite, if I
All
remember
they've
correctly.
done, all they've
They're bloody
done
keen on
is
them
say
going
that.
up.
Well, they say that they just want the rate to slow down. Dutton
Hmm.
actually said something like that he wanted to see just a steady increase in house prices,
Hmm.
but they'll never say they want a reduction. They never do that, um, because it would upset the boomers who all have like three properties each, and the investors who, of course, are major contributors to both major parties.
Hmm. Well, I know BlackRock in America. They've been scooping up properties by the handful and renting them out to people. So maybe when that happens here, and might be BlackRock itself does the same thing to our properties. Um, maybe there'll be an interest in fucking lowering them, but then you got a big giant fucking global powerhouse of a thing holding onto it with its tentacles in going down your pocket,
Yeah.
going down the politician's pocket. So in a much worse situation there, and can any can any fucking can any boomer argue against selling their property for more than it's worth to a BlackRock, and then suddenly it's off the market forever as they squeeze everybody dry? Infinite money forever glitch.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, what do we actually want? Like, what would be good policy? I think if we just had, like I said before, my net zero immigration policy,
Hmm.
we're obviously going to deal with demand in that way because we're going to stop any increase in demand. And that would probably not just make housing prices fall and rent prices fall, but it would actually cause somewhat of a crash in the housing market. And it would force a lot of these boomer investors to sell off their houses at a loss. And you know what? That would be absolutely beautiful if that happened. Think of that.
Knowing knowing boomers, they'd probably spend the extra dollar to collapse the house on the way out.
But I mean, what? Okay, so let's look at what the result of that would actually be. Suddenly, all these people who own the houses are freed up. Those houses go out to people who, say, previously had no hope of actually breaking into the market. But
Hmm.
what are those boomers left with? They're left with plenty. Okay, they don't get their extra millions on those investment properties that they have, and they say only have the house that they live in.
Careful.
Good.
That's that's
What?
that's that's how you get
Please tell me.
people armoring up bulldozers and collapsing societies with them.
But yeah, like, please tell me how that's a bad scenario. Yeah, you send
Yeah.
some boomers broke, and you give more houses to young people. What?
What's the Greens offering when it comes to
Rent
housing?
freezes,
Just
rent
rent
freezes,
freeze,
and
and that's
increased
it.
capital gains tax, which is
And
which is
that's it.
just ridiculous. And they want an increased amount of migration as well. They reckon the reason why there's a housing crisis in Australia is
Not
because
enough
of tax
migrants building
cut.
houses.
Well, they'll say that, but they mainly say it's because of tax cuts and other financial incentives that we've given builders.
Brr.
No,
Brr.
it, yeah,
You're driving me
it,
crazy.
it would be a disaster. I mean, it's not going to happen. But if the Greens actually did implement like their own housing policies, it would just be a fucking train wreck.
Well, there's your fucking crash, I guess. Acceleration isn't waiting for you to push the button, but not like this.
By the way, I should say because people have been messaging me, I don't know where Joel is.
Oh,
I know he was meant to be on around an hour ago. I have been messaging him, so I don't know what's going on. He might be held up or whatever he was doing before.
it's very Australian of him.
Yeah, he did tell me he was busy with some other commitment. I don't know what it was, but um, hopefully he will still join us. Um, what else we got? Of course, we've got to talk about the issue of foreign students,
Mm.
um, which we've already covered a little bit. In fact, I think we covered this story. Yeah, so this is the one about increasing the cost to apply for a student visa. So it'll now be a $2,000 fee from July 1. Uh, and they reckon they're going to get $760 million dollars of extra revenue out of that.
Mm.
Yeah, they probably will, because when it comes to the quota on foreign students, they always get it. We always fill it up. So yeah, even though the foreign students will be pissed off at that, um, they'll pay it still. Uh, so it's an industry. It's the government that benefits from it as well. Here you can see another perverse incentive that's baked into the cake, and it does not encourage government to reduce migration numbers. Why would you? They're a cash cow. If you look at just in terms of the interest for the education sector, foreign students is something like a 40 to $50 billion industry. It's massive.
It's only going to grow.
It's one of the, it's one of yeah, and it's one of the biggest industries that we actually have in Australia.
Yeah, that limb's looking pretty gangrenous.
Oh, now here's something even worse. So here's a Liberal Party alternative on this. They want foreign students who come here to work. Now,
Ah,
the first thing to say about that is that has been like an infamous problem with foreign students. The fact that they use a student visa to come here and then enroll in a fake course while they're actually working at some Chinese restaurant. Okay,
seems like
but
a feature.
according to the Liberal Party, they don't do that enough. So the coalition says here would actually grant extra work rights to foreign students to allow them to work for 60 hours per fortnight. I believe currently they're allowed 40 hours per fortnight.
Mm. And the other time they just do cash in hand jobs.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Uh, a lot of the
Mm.
time, yeah, they're just working full time, but like only half of it is recorded. Yeah, very common thing to happen. And here the libs are saying, "Oh no, we need to give them more work rights. You know, let's let them take even more jobs away from Australians."
Yeah. Well, I guess they'll be paying their taxes if they're doing the full 60 hours. Fuck.
Oh, hmm. On that note, another policy from the coalition, the
Ah,
agriculture. So this is something you mainly hear the National Party talk about because they're representing the regional areas where they do fruit picking. Uh, Something that's sort of a tradition for backpackers who come to Australia is they will pick fruit in their spare time to
fuck
fund
off
their
tradition.
working
It's
holiday.
mandatory. It's mandatory they had to do X amount of time fucking around on a farm, getting paid nothing for a while. Fuck me dead. Tradition, my
So
ass. Tradition of exploitation.
they've done this before. So these are visas that preference Pacific Island workers who come over here and yeah, they do various agricultural jobs, but it's mainly just fruit picking.
Mm.
Um, Now, in this article here from the Australian, it said that that could upset our diplomatic relations with Pacific Island nations. That's true because we actually steal workers from them. It's
Mm.
sometimes you call it a brain drain. It's not.
It's a
There's
fucking
not much
muscle
brain.
drain.
Yes, it is. There's not much brain in this equation. But yeah, it
Minimal
does.
brain for the amount of drain we're putting on them.
Yeah, but it is actually we're sucking economic units from them, which is true. And then they also talk about the exploitation. Yeah, this is a big thing. Um, a lot of the time, we talked about things like doing cash in hand work and that kind of thing. Sometimes these employers will actually also do like cash back. So that's where um, they will wire your, say, fortnightly wages into your account, but then you're expected to, say, pull out 30% of those wages and hand the cash back to your employer. That's just one of the things they do. And when you're a foreign worker, particularly when you're on a visa like this, you're in a very precarious position. And your boss can just say, well, if you tell anyone, you're on the next plane back to Fiji or whatever shithole you came from.
Mm.
Uh, and it happens all the time. It happens all the time. They go out working like ridiculous hours, like 16 hours a day at a pittance. And they're less likely to complain to the Fair Work Commission about that. So,
They probably work
yeah,
easier over here than they work over there, so yeah.
yeah.
Probably
I mean,
paradise. The amount of small amount of money they get is probably a huge boon to their lifestyle.
oh, it is. Oh, of course it is. Yeah, and that's
Oh,
why they're
plus
willing
the
to do
fucking
things.
Kentucky fuck duck.
Uh,
As you do.
yeah,
Paid them and fried chicken. Fuck.
the Labor Party's policy on this kind of stuff, I do think, is better, but not much better. The reason why is because they say, "Oh, look, we have no problem with these foreign workers who are coming in to pick the fruit and whatnot, but we just want to make sure that they're protected." So they pass laws to protect foreign workers to make
Well,
it
they've been doing a
harder.
terrible fucking job at it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so by doing that, maybe you do something where you're sort of preventing them from undercutting the wages, stopping them from being, like a cheap labor alternative. But at the same
Yeah.
time, you're still importing the same amount of people, though. That's all. So that's why it's only a slightly better policy than what the libs are offering.
You're talking earlier about doing costs to work for people and them taxing you all that. It's told a long time ago when I first got into work, and if an Australian is hired you, you got a you got a chance that they're going to be paying you what you're worth, or that they're going to put off paying you until you figure out they're not going to pay for you and move along. If you work for a Greek, they'll pay you for what you're worth, but they'll tax the ever loving shit out of you. Everything you use taxed on that.
Yeah.
If you work for an Italian, he's going to pay you as little as he humanly possibly can.
Yes. Remember the days where the wogs were the problem?
Oh, bring back the good old days of. Oh no, please don't.
Have you seen that video of that guy who's like some kind of wog, and they find this ad that he placed in the paper for a property, and it said no Asians, please. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't. Why doesn't he want the Asians?
Let me see if I can find it. I might put it on. It's bloody.
Oh,
It's got a really great ending to it.
we could use the
Um,
laugh and a half.
let's see if it's still on YouTube, and I'll see if I can put it on.
Well,
Yeah, it's
I'm
still
looking
here.
at this red bar increasing dramatically in this on the yeah, on the
Oh, that,
Australian.
yeah. So, oh well, yeah.
Yeah,
I should say. Now
yeah,
this
the
is
bar's
weird though.
so things climbing quickly. Oh,
Well, look, guys, if you're looking at our screen and you can see it says the Labor Party on 66, the Coalition on 25. According to the ABC, that's not true.
oh yeah.
These are the same figures we read out to you earlier. So 29 for the ALP, 26 for the LNP, 0 for the Greens, 6 for others. So I don't know why these are so different.
Just
And that's
to scare the
obviously on
fuck
a
out of you, I
two-party
guess.
divert basis. Oh, look at that. So they reckon Qatar Australia's got one. CA, that would be the Centre Alliance, and
The
Independence on
Indians.
5. Um, where am I?
Getting onto that commercial. Not commercial. I reckon no Asians, please, from the WOG.
Yeah, I'll put it up. I'm just putting it up.
Can't see it on the screen here.
Yeah, no, I will. I'm just trying to get it into another browser.
Easy.
Vote 1 in the referendum. Oh, Jesus. There's my own voice comes up. I just opened up my YouTube channel. It comes up with my own my own videos. Okay, here it is. I'm just trying to find one that's on my Racer account. That's all, which is here on the Brave browser. But anyway, here it is.
This Highgate isn't the one in London, it's a suburb of Adelaide. But it's the advert's last sentence that brought out a local TV reporter's crusading instincts.
I'd just like to ask you a few questions about the house you've got for sale.
Well, I'd rather not answer it
Why not?
because I don't want to. I'm not going to spell my business to anybody over there. No.
Well, I'm not interested in how much you want for the house. I'm just interested in why you don't want any Asians to buy it and move in.
Well, because the simple reason they're too lazy.
Why don't you want Asians moving into your house?
Because I don't like the Asians, that's all it is.
You don't want them. You don't want them in your place.
They're just a mob of crooks, that's all they are.
And that there's a law against what you're doing.
Well, no one has told me that, and I mean to say even the
Do you
Asians.
think it's wrong?
Yeah, the
Even
bloody
the
paper
Asians
printed it, didn't they?
I can have my sign up. If I get a buyer, I can sell it.
But you won't sell it to an Asian person.
If they come up with a buyer, yes. All they're interested about is just to put the sign up. That's all. I've had agents, I haven't knocked them back.
What would? Oh no, agents. You know what
Asians, I'm sorry, well, that's a bad expression.
is that what you say? No Asians?
No.
You say no agents.
Agents, sorry.
Is that a real life?
That's real, yes.
Fucking printing error. Fucking Asians. Not giving you my house.
Classic. That's that's a real old one. That's like I think the 90s, maybe even before. I remember seeing it as a kid on TV, but it's a classic. Okay.
Well, fuck, the blue just went down. This Australian thing is wacky.
Yeah, I don't know why their results are so different.
Slap that Sifu results for a Sifu results for a second and see if that changes. Get where the fuck they're getting their shit from.
Well, look, let's go to. Did we have another story? Oh, okay. Yeah, I did have Labor's policy on foreign workers. Now, of course, the Australian is pushing this line. They reckon that these workplace grants that they're going to give to foreign workers, many of them agricultural workers,
Mm.
is about funneling money into the unions, right?
All right.
So, as I said, Labor's policy, they sell it as protecting the migrant workers, making sure that they're not exploited and that kind of thing. And you see, part of that is simply giving them the option of, like, do you want to join your local union? Because then you've got some kind of representation as a worker. That's all it is. So, of course, yeah, that would mean that you'd get an increase in union membership. And that in and of itself is just what makes the coalition and Labor, the Australian crazy. How dare you
Mm.
do anything to increase union membership?
Yeah, seems an effective seems an effective thing to offer them unionship and but is it doing
This
them
is,
any fucking good at the moment? Probably fucking not, but I guess if they drag people in to increase, here's the whole diversity makes us strong routine. Is yeah, you bring all the randoms in, make them a union, and suddenly the whole nation's fucking labor. But uh, pie
yeah,
in the
but
sky.
like, you know, this is definitely not an issue that voters care about. None of them go in there and go like, "Oh, bloody Labor! They're making too many fruit pickers join unions." No one fucking cares about that.
Yeah, so just petty hits. Don't they have better things to kind of gripe about, or is this safe things to gripe about?
Oh, so I guess we've already kind of covered this. This was the Australians' coverage of the Smart Energy Council.
Mm.
Um, so they're the ones, of course, who are responsible for putting out the $600 billion costing for the coalition's nuclear plan. Yeah, and this is the one where I read that they're donors to the Labor Party. Um, they also have advisors like Simon Holmes a Court, who is the multimillionaire behind Climate 200 that runs all the teal independents. So, isn't it funny when you look behind all of these studies that always give you these outrageous figures? There's always like interest groups behind them.
Mm.
Um,
It's good that nowadays
just
we can
like,
actually see the interest groups. It's good that they can't really hide. You can do a study to find them, but uh,
yeah, I mean, like a recent one that Knowlesy and I looked at was this one that said that foreign students don't contribute to rising rent prices.
mm,
And then when I look behind that, the Property Council of Australia was like one of the sponsors of it, you know, every
bit of a
time.
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Uh, but I guess there's no law against running studies that are conflict of interest. Is it kind of illegal to put them out there if they're fake studies? I guess there's a there's a there's got to be a bloody market for biased studies. I mean, but you turn them into propaganda. Why wouldn't there be?
Yeah. Now, well, let's look at this one. And by the way, I hope people have noticed that like Chris Bowen has been almost invisible
Mm.
this electoral cycle. He, of course, is your climate change and energy minister.
Oh, that's what he's
Uh,
doing. That's where he
well,
disappeared off to.
that's exactly why you haven't seen him. Now, what you're actually looking at here, this photograph that was taken, this was Sky News. So, of course, Sky News and the Australian are both Murdoch Press, both News Corp. So it's obvious why they share this material. But this was how Sky News had to track down Chris Bowen. They were never able to actually get him for an interview, and they couldn't find like any public appearances, like speeches or anything that he was doing. So
Bloody
instead, they had to
hell!
track him down where he was handing out how to vote cards. So he's just been
Fucking
out there. He's just been out there doing the job that Labor volunteers. are supposed to do. But this was like the only way Sky News could track him down to ask him what was going on. And of course, they asked him about like the blackouts in Spain and that at the moment. And he just continued with the same old crap about how renewables, how we know it is the cheapest, most reliable source of energy we have. But anyway, this article was going through how the Liberal Party would save money in the budget. Part of that was gutting some of the renewable energy projects.
Good to hear. But doesn't mean you haven't already done a bloody big old loss. I guess
Right.
big
Well, look,
fucking loss on what you put in the money to.
one of the things would be like electric vehicles. Some of the subsidies and that are on electric vehicles, the coalition does not like that. They think they should just be treated like any other car on the road. The fuel efficiency standards, they want to abolish them, and also green hydrogen. So all that stuff here would make a difference. But Chris Bowen doesn't think so.
Yeah.
And this is a guy, I remember they thought, like, when Chris Bowen first entered Parliament, he was seen as this rising star who could one day be Prime Minister. And now just no one thinks that at all.
Yep. Well, I guess he's earning a big old paycheck for it.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Let me put this up. Looks like we may
right
have
over the line.
Cool. So
That was
finally,
quick.
I was wondering, I don't know why the ABC took so long to update the figures.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I thought I was being alarmist when I was looking at the Australian going nuts, but where?
Yeah. No, it looks like the Australian had this more accurate. So, okay, if you're listening to the audio, guys, the ALP are currently on 77 seats. And remember, you only need 76 for a majority to win. So, assuming this is accurate, and it's not a mere projection, Labor are going to be re-elected. The Coalition are on 33 seats. The Greens are on 3. And the other minor parties and independents are on 11. So
30% counted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a lot. When you've got that much of the vote counted, it's pretty indicative of where you're going to land. What time is it? 7:30 over here, so it must be 9:30 over in your land.
A minute or two off.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to see, does Anthony Green, has he confirmed it? Does he actually say this is
Mission
confirmed?
accomplished.
I have
He's on his
lost
way
my
to the Labour
bloody thing
HQ to address
where I
the
was
party
watching the live.
10 minutes ago. Surely you'll be allowed to show him making his fucking election speech, right? Or would they nick you
Speech
for that?
show. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to make sure I don't miss out on now. I had a page up with the ABC live stream, and now I've lost it. Let me find it.
Butterfingers.
Yes.
Overwhelming
So I'll just keep an eye
story.
on it.
So the Labor.
So they do have a live feed coming from Brisbane, which is Liberal Party headquarters of Vita Dutton. I assume that means Dutton's got to come out pretty soon and give a speech, which would be a concession, no doubt. But yeah, I mean, taking what we've got here. God, I've got way too many windows up. Let me close a bunch of these. Have a look at
How many?
Dutton's
A dozen or so?
ugly bald head again.
Glad to put that up there for you.
What was I looking at? Oh yeah, let me just find what is the current House of Reps numbers. I had it up before. Where is it? Where is it? Because I think that's actually Labor just retaining their seat count of 77. I'm pretty sure that that's what it was, and I think the coalition were on 53. Uh, so, I mean, going by those numbers, that would mean the coalition have lost 20 seats, but still, I'm sure they'll pick up more because, only 30% of the votes actually been counted. So,
Mm.
yeah.
So yeah, betting money was on Labor. Labor got in. So
Yeah, I was predicting a majority Labor government. I was thinking for a little while that if the coalition got back the Teal seats and took 10 or so seats from Labor, they might have a chance, but only for a hung parliament, which of
yeah.
course would be a nightmare, um, because that would be a coalition with the Greens and possibly the Teals as well.
And we know how
Uh,
that has gone. People would probably shape
and
up right and proper should that be risked.
yeah, and I mean the Greens were actually very honest about what they would demand from a minority Labor government. And I remember one of their slogans that I saw was "Keep Dutton out, make Labor act." So you know
Yeah.
that was really their goal. They know that they have no chance of uh,
The gangrenous
forming government.
parasite upon our parties,
Yeah,
trying to suck them dry.
yeah. So
Fucking
look,
succeeded once.
oh shit, I'm sorry. Let me
Oh,
put
yeah.
on.
We've worked hard every day over the course of the last 3 years to do our best for our amazing country. One of the great honours of being the leader of this party is that we have met people from every side, every corner, the length and breadth of this country. And there are many amazing stories. People who have sacrificed, people who are doing it hard at the moment. And I've always wanted in public life for the best for our country and the best for every Australian. The highlight of my career has been as the Defence Minister, and over the course of this campaign, on Anzac Day, we caught up with young veterans in Townsville at the RSL, and it reminded me of how lucky we are as a country. And I want to acknowledge all of those men and women in uniform who keep us safe as a country. Now, we didn't do well enough during this campaign. That much is obvious tonight, and I accept full responsibility for that. Earlier on, I called the Prime Minister to congratulate him on his success tonight. It's an historic occasion for the Labor Party, and we recognise that. I congratulated the Prime Minister and wished he and Jodie and Nathan all the very best. And I said to the Prime Minister that his mum would be incredibly proud of his achievement tonight, and he should be very proud of what he's achieved. Thank you. I also had the pleasure of speaking with Ali France, and Ali and I have been combatants for a number of elections now, but she was successful in Dixon tonight, and she will do a good job as a local member. She lost her son Henry, which is a tragic circumstance that no parent should ever go through. And equally, I said to Ali that her son Henry would be incredibly proud of her tonight, and she'll do a good job as a local member for Dixon, and I wish her all the very best, please. Now, it's been a great honour to be leader of this amazing party for the last 3 years. And I want to firstly acknowledge David Littleproud, who has been a great partner in crime. He's led the National Party with distinction.
Holy
He's
shit.
had the strength of
Peter
character
Dutton
to
lost his
stand
own
up on
seat.
issues
The
which are
seat of
important to
Dixon.
us,
That was his seat.
and we've worked
Yeah,
incredibly.
he just
Holy
congratulated
shit.
the lady.
He's done a great job.
Not doing
Holy
too good.
fuck.
I want to say thank you very much to Susan Lee as my
Jesus.
deputy,
They
and
Tony
also
Abboted him.
Taylor as a shadow treasurer, and other senior members who have contributed to the success of the last couple of years. I also want to say a very, very big thank you tonight, most importantly, to the millions of Australians who have supported the Liberal Party, the coalition. It's not our night, as I point out, and there are good members, good candidates who have lost their seats or their ambition, and I'm sorry for that. We have an amazing party and we'll rebuild. Can I say thank you very much to John Olsen as the president of the party. He's done a fantastic job, to Andrew Hurst and all of the secretariat for the work that they've done.
It's some level of unpopularity.
Just amazing, led by Alex Dalgleish, Jody, Martine, Jackie, Selma, all of the EO staff, my advanced team, the AFP, who have done an amazing job for our family. And I want to say thank you very much. Thank you. I have the best media team in the country, led by Nicole Chant and Adrian Barrett and their team. They've done an amazing job, and I'm so grateful to them and to all of our loyal staff. Thank you very much. That leaves me, of course, with the hardest part. That is my amazing family. Australians have seen... Please, thank you. I'm blessed to have an amazing family in Kirralee, in Beck and Harry and Tom, and they... Please, thank you.
Is that it?
They've stood by me through thick and thin, and I'm so grateful for their support and their love. Can I say thank you to the people of Dickson and to our amazing supporters in Dickson. Dickson had a one-term curse. It was only ever held for one term at a time, and we've held it for 24 years, which is an amazing achievement.
Ooh.
24 years is a long time to be in public life, and it has been an amazing honour. But I do want to say thank you to the people of Dickson who have placed faith in me over a long period of time. And we've had lots of battles and lots of campaigns. Ultimately, we've been able to deliver an amazing outcome for our local community. To residents and to people that we've been able to help, people who were with loved ones who were sick and stranded, infrastructure projects. There are many ways in which we've been able to provide amazing support, and I want to say thank you very much to them. Our Liberal family is hurting across the country tonight, but including in my electorate of Dickson, and I want to say thank you very much to all of them. They are amazing people dedicated to their country. Ultimately, we live in the best country in the world, and I've always believed that. I always will. I love this country and I've fought hard for it. We've been defined by our opponents in this election, which is not the true story of who we are. But we'll rebuild from here. We'll do that because we know our values, we know our beliefs, and we'll always stick to them. I want to say thank you to the Australian people for the faith they've placed in me, and thank them for the great honour of having been the member for Dickson and the leader of the opposition. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, 24 years they've held that seat, right? It's so bloody unpopular, he lost that seat as well. Fuck me.
Wow. I had to pinch myself there. I was like, did he just concede his own seat? Because he's mentioning the candidate in Dickson. I'm like, wait a minute, that's his seat. What? And then I rushed over to look at the individual electorates and how they're going. Well, actually, let me put that up.
Some drama.
Let's jump down to...
Hell of a map, that
we'll go
thing.
through a few of these. But if we look at the seat of Dickson, what the hell? Where is it?
D.
It
D
was
for
there.
Dickson.
Yeah, I know. I was in the D section and it didn't...
Slap that F5 button, see if it updates.
There it is. So there we go.
ALP gain.
ALP gain. So far, 36.5% of the vote in Dickson has been counted. The ALP are on 57.7%. The LNP, which is Vida Dutton, is on 40 2.3%. And holy shit, look at that swing. 9.4% to the ALP.
There's
In
shit
a
in the
seat.
bed, and then there's 24 years. What did they
Yes,
do?
in
Set
in a
fire to the
seat. In a seat not
local
only
polls?
held by the leader, but a man who has held it for 24 years.
Is
Wow.
this possibly some sort of fucking get up routine? Like they're gonna just tickle every enemy minister's seat for now on? Because hell of a strategy.
Yeah, wow. Um,
Could
I
also
mean,
be the
look,
sympathy vote. It sounds like his opposition lost a child. That would have helped. Fucking horrible,
who
but it would have helped.
um who are they going to get now? Like to be leader, seriously, because they don't have anyone high profile. Any high profile liberal candidates that they actually lost them to the Teals in the last
Mm.
election. Josh Frydenberg is probably the best example. And during the 3 years of Dutton being leader, there hasn't really been another shadow minister who has gotten a name for himself or herself. The only one, I guess, that maybe might come close to that would be Angus Taylor, the shadow treasurer. And
Mm.
he does not have a likable personality. He's not very personable. And I remember I saw one clip of him where he did a press conference. And at the end, he said, are there any questions? And absolutely no one put their hand up.
Oh fucking hell!
And he had to walk off. Yeah. So,
Well, so I guess maybe a couple of terms more of red. They must be bloody Labour must be walking away with this thing, fucking grinning from ear to ear. Fucking, we've got a mandate, team. Oh fucking hell!
oh my God, I know.
A mandate that yep, people love what's going on. People are loving what they're seeing. Oh,
And
talk about shit in the bed.
yeah, and look, you know, I've been following politics since I was about 16, and showing my age here, Albanese was in the Parliament back then.
The old cunt.
Uh, so, like, I've been following that guy for quite a while. I believe he's been in Parliament for over 30 years, and it was never ever said that Albo was leadership material. You know, people would always talk about rising stars or um, leadership alternatives, future leaders, and no one ever said that about Anthony Albanese. You know,
He just
they said it
snuck
about
in there,
yeah.
snuck
I
in
mean,
there
they
and
said it
wiped
about
out all his
Gillard.
opponents. The stealth
They,
missile.
they said it about Gillard. They said it about Rudd. They even said it about Mark Latham, believe it or not. But no one ever said it about Anthony Albanese. He was a guy who really got there by luck. Um, he never really held like a very serious ministry either. He always kind of had, like, he would have transport, he'd have a
Mm.
portfolio like that. He would never have something like health or treasury, one of the more demanding ones.
Well, I guess he
And,
transported himself into being in charge. No one saw that coming.
well, kind of by accident. I mean, the first time around when Kevin Rudd lost the election to Tony Abbott, um, Labor then had their own primary process. I mentioned before that they made becoming leader a bit different. And this is where
Mm.
50% of the vote comes from the membership, Labor Party membership, while the other 50% comes from the party room. So that was Bill Shorten and Anthony Albanese who threw their names in for that. And it was a very carefully crafted, choreographed campaign because they didn't really attack each other. They would
Mm.
talk themselves up, but they were very careful not to attack the other person because obviously one of them is going to become leader, and then
The other one's gonna. One of them's gonna be the other one's boss.
yeah, right, and they've got to look united. And so talking shit about him on the campaign stage, like they do in the American primaries. Not a good look. Not a good look. So it was very carefully crafted. But anyway, Shorten won that, and yeah, Shorten was also one of those guys. A lot of people said future leader, and of course, yeah, he won. But then he did 2 terms, and it's basically impossible. If you've lost 2 terms, you can't continue as leader. He knew the writing was on the wall, and so he stepped down.
Mm.
And then I mentioned earlier that Chris Bowen ruined his chances of becoming leader because of the failed franking credits and also the scrapped like negative gearing policies that were being proposed by Treasury or by Shadow Treasury, sorry. Um, and I don't know if people remember this, but Chris Bowen did actually announce that he was going to run for leader uh, in 2019. But then he pulled out after one day. And that's because, after he got a feel for things, he realized he had absolutely no support and no one was going to vote for him, both in the membership and in the party room. So he just pulled out. The only person left was Anthony Albanese. As I've said before, it wasn't going to be Tanya Plibersek because her husband is a convicted heroin trafficker. So now, you see what I mean? Like, this is how lucky Albo has been. It's just been so coincidental. Like, all these other potential leaders in Labor have had these slip ups, have had circumstances work against them, and it's all actually favoured Anthony Albanese, a man who no one ever said was leadership material, and yet here he is, re-elected to his second term as Prime Minister, and it looks like he might get in with a thumping majority as well.
Yeah, pretty big fucking majority. Probably
Look at all
another
that
term in
red.
him as well. If that's how
Look at
huge
that
things
sea
are
of
going to get.
red.
Yeah.
All right, and look at that. Now they're projected to win 82 seats. That is 5 more than what they held. Damn.
I mean, with such a majority, you can do everything you need, right? If I can, a couple of years worth of majority at least, a couple of terms.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, do something good for society. Why don't you?
All right. So I guess we can just go through the electorates now. We won't obviously comment on all of these. So these ones at the top here, Ballarat, Banks, Blair, these look like traditional Labor seats that Labor have retained. Libs have retained Bradfield. Blair, Independent. Who's that one again? Oh, Andrew G. Right. This is one I've sort of got my eye on. This is the seat of Curtin. This used to be Julie Bishop's seat. And this is like the one seat in WA that turned teal. So, as you can imagine, it used to be a blue ribbon Liberal Party seat, and then it was flipped to the teals. And it doesn't surprise me that that happened because the demography of the seat of Curtin is really similar to those inner city Melbourne seats, like Kooyong. Um, I actually used to live there, and it's full of like rich specialist doctors, and they've got a lot of trust fund babies. Um, if you get to know the kids of any of those people, those rich doctors who own very expensive property out that way, all of their kids support action on climate change and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they don't really like high taxes because it would take money away from them.
No, they don't want that inheritance tax to go ahead. So that's why they needed an alternative for shitlippery.
Now, I'm glad I'm not going blind. I just noticed, you see how Curtin is not there anymore? I thought I was going blind when I couldn't find Dixon. They're not showing every single electorate on the page there.
Oh, they could just be being updated. Press that sweet
That-
F5 button.
That might be it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you can see Dixon has fallen off again. I don't know why they're doing that. Anyway, let's see if there's any that. Fowler. This is an interesting one because you know who holds that? Dai Li. So Dai Li is I think she's Vietnamese. I believe her parents fled the Vietnam War.
Right. So
And
South Vietnamese.
I guess so. I'm not really sure. But she won that seat when she went up against Christina Keneally. So remember, she was former Premier of New South Wales. Then she was a senator for federal Labor. And then the Labor Party just parachuted her into what was a safe Labor seat. And if you don't know, the seat of Fowler, it's in Western Sydney, and it is very ethnically diverse. Like, there's still a few white people there, but it's such a mix of different ethnicities, and not
Out
just
fucking
Asian.
voted.
It's a real mix. And so Dai Li came in and said, "Well, look, I may not represent the majority ethnicity here, you know, being an Asian. However, I am not a rich, privileged white American woman like Christina Keneally is." And she won. And I believe she won on that basis. You know,
Look at me, I'm not white. Lovely.
yeah, that was it. And so even the people who are like, okay, I'm not Asian, but I'll vote for you anyway because I've got a chip on my shoulder and I don't like white people. I resent the fact that I had to move out of my shithole country to come to another foreign land that was built by people outside of my race. And yes, that is the way a lot of non-whites think.
The way a lot of non-whites vote as well.
Here is definitely an interesting one. The seat of Griffith. So this was the seat that was won for the first time ever by the Greens in 2022. They took it away from the Labor Party. And as I said, this used to be Kevin Rudd's seat. So very much a safe Labor seat. However, it's the seat of the Burbs, and it sort of was moving in that direction where, you know, a Teal candidate could probably do pretty well. But no, they got the Greens instead. Now, according to this, they have not predicted it yet, but the Labor Party are ahead. So they're on 56.8%, with the Greens on 43.2%. So I know at the moment,
maybe
the Greens are sitting on 3 seats. So I assume that 4th seat of Griffith is the one that they don't have, or at least not yet. They might still gain it. Okay, let's keep going. All right, well, here's one I got to admit. I was wrong here. This is the seat of Kooyong, which was Josh Frydenberg's old seat. This was one of the ones I thought was going to go back to the Liberals, for 2 reasons. Well, no, actually, I'll say 3 reasons. Number one, hold on, Penny Wong is doing a speech.
Headquarters, and a big cheer from the Labor crowd. They love Penny Wong. Let's hear what she has to say before we hear from Anthony Albanese on his back-to-back election wins.
He's getting old.
Friends, thank you, friends. Thank you all. Thank you for believing in Labor. Thank you for believing in the power of this great nation. The power in our 26 million people from more than 300 ancestries.
Wow.
And from the oldest continuing civilization on the planet. And I acknowledge the traditional owners. Friends,
What a rousing fucking speech.
we love this country, and representing it to the world is the honour of my life. Because of who we are and what we strive to be. A nation that stands on its own 2 feet, that invests in the aspirations of all of its people, and a nation of courage and of kindness.
And the voting no.
I saw this purpose and these principles in our campaign across the country. Our hardworking candidates, the thousands of Labor volunteers in every state and territory, in every community, working for a better future. Friends, 3 years ago, the Australian people made a collective decision to turn the page and write a new future for ourselves. Tonight, together, we start the new chapter.
Right.
And we will write this next chapter so all Australians are part of our nation's story. No matter who we are or where we come from, no matter age or gender, no matter the lottery of birth, Australia's opportunity is for us all.
Saying a whole lot of fucking nothing.
And friends, that Australian story is embodied by our Australian Prime Minister, a man who shows what real strength is, a man of courage, a man of compassion, a leader with the conviction of who we are and what we can be. A leader with a conviction that builds Australia's future. Friends, some might want to mimic the worst of other countries. Albo always backs what's best about our country. Please welcome my dear friend, our Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese.
Man of the hour in the next couple of years.
My fellow Australians, serving as your Prime Minister is the greatest honour of my life. You're a puff! And it's with a deep
Pretty close.
humility and a profound sense of responsibility that the first thing that I do tonight is to say thank you to the people of Australia for the chance to continue to serve the best nation on earth. And I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we live.
Get
No.
And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging today and every day.
Not the biggest woos going on.
Today, the Australian people have voted for Australian values, for fairness, aspiration and opportunity for all, for the strength to show courage in adversity and kindness to those in need. And Australians have voted for a future that holds true to these values, a future built on everything that brings us together as Australians and everything that sets our nation apart from the world. In this time of global uncertainty, Australians have chosen optimism and determination. Australians have chosen to face global challenges the Australian way, looking after each other while building for the future. And to serve these values, meet these challenges, seize these opportunities, and build that better and stronger future, Australians have chosen a majority Labor government.
Yep.
I think the Australian people have got the name. A majority Labor government promised and delivered. A short time ago, I spoke with Peter Dutton, who has, of course, conceded defeat. And I thanked him. No. What we do in Australia is we treat people with respect. I
you're so
Peter
gracious.
for his generous words at the end of what has been a very hard-fought campaign. And I want to take this opportunity to wish Peter and Kiralee and their family all the very best for their future.
Finally, Dutton can take off the glasses.
You bloody wanker.
Now, at election time, parties and candidates ask people to make a choice. And inevitably, the campaign and the coverage is about our differences and our disagreements. That is the nature of our democracy, and it is the role of the media who serve it. But now that the Australian people have made their clear choice, let us all reflect on what we have in common. Because no matter who you voted for, no matter where you live, no matter how you worship or who you love, whether you belong to a culture that has known and cared for this great continent for 65,000 years.
Holy shit, it just keeps growing.
It does. Our nation as your home and in
What about the fucking out of Australia theory? For fuck's sake.
We are all Australians. So let all of us work together to build our national unity on the enduring foundations of fairness, equality, and respect for one another. Fuck you, cunt! My fellow Australians, I know the world has thrown a lot at our country over the past 3 years. I know so many of you have worked hard in the face of significant challenges, and I know there's still much more to do to help people under pressure. That is why it means so much that in these uncertain times, the people of Australia have placed their trust in Labor once again, including so many Australians who have voted Labor for the first time.
Yep. A whole lot of that going around.
Bloody homosexual or something.
I make this solemn pledge. We will not forget that. We will never take it for granted. Repaying your trust will drive our government each and every day of the next 3 years. The positive program we took to this election was shaped by the Australian people's priorities, and our government will dedicate the next 3 years to making a positive difference to your lives and to your future, bringing the rewards for your hard work within reach, investing in our youngest Australians, looking after older Australians, and building an economy and a society that is every bit as strong and fair, as resilient and generous as Australians are themselves. From tomorrow, back at work. Maybe not everyone here. And that's probably for the best.
It's Sunday tomorrow.
We take up this task with new hope, new confidence, and new determination.
Pick up.
Because together we are turning the corner, and together we will make our way forward with no one held back and no one left behind. Friends, I was raised to be an optimist. My mum had a hard life and we struggled financially, but she taught me to always be positive and see the best in people. When it comes to Australia's future, all of us have so much reason to be optimistic, because when we look at everything going on around the world today, when we consider the changes that will shape the future of the global economy, when we think about our people and their smarts and skills, truly there's nowhere else you'd rather be than right here in Australia. This is a time of profound opportunity for our nation. We have everything we need to seize this moment and make it our own, and we must do it together, all of us, because for Australia to realise our full potential, for our nation to be its very best, every Australian must have the opportunity to be their best. To serve our Australian values, we must value every Australian, and Labor will govern for every Australian.
Pick up.
Every Australian who wants a fair go at work, fair wages,
Deliver that shit.
and the right to disconnect when they're done with work. Every Australian who deserves the security of a roof over their head or dreams of owning their own home.
Oh, like fuck.
Yeah, that'll be a dream, all right.
Contribution of
Dream of
our
that.
Yeah,
society
it's a
to
dream.
be
You have to be
valued
asleep to
equally.
believe it.
Yeah, you promised us you're not even going to make those numbers.
Every parent who wants their child to get the best start in life, with cheaper childcare and with fair funding for every student in every school.
Pick up.
Everyone who counts on the National Disability Insurance Scheme. We will be a government for every Australian who wants to train or retrain for new skills and a good job at public TAFE. Every Australian who works hard for the life-changing opportunity of higher education and wants 20% cut from their student debt. Every Australian who knows that climate change is a challenge we must act together to meet for the future of our environment.
Not the biggest cheer on that one.
And knows the fact that renewable energy is an opportunity we must work together to seize for the future of our economy.
You're a fucking mess.
We will be a government that supports reconciliation with First Nations people.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Ah,
For fuck's sake. He's
Because
doing it
we
again.
will be a stronger nation when we close the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians. And friends, we will be a government that relies and helps every Australian who relies on Medicare. Because this card
we can't even see it properly.
This card is not Labor red or Liberal blue, it is green and gold.
All right.
It is a declaration of our national values in our national colours. Medicare belongs to all Australians, and together we will make it stronger for all Australians. Friends, I stand here tonight as the proud leader of an extraordinary team. I stood on the hallowed turf of the G this morning, doing live crosses, making that point. I want to thank all of my colleagues, beginning with my friend, our incredible Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles. No one could hope for a better deputy, and I thank him so much. My friend and our Senate leader, Penny Wong, and her deputy,
Piece of shit!
her deputy, Don Farrell, our economic team led by Jim Chalmers and Katie Gallagher, our campaign spokesperson, Jason Clare, and we've got a bit of a shared party tonight, and Berkey's here, the member for Watson. My amazing Labor caucus, which when you look at it across the benches, it's representative of the Australian people. I acknowledge all of our fantastic Labor candidates in every seat who put up their hand, gave up their time for our cause and their community. If you excuse me for singling out one of them who ran for a third time in Dixon, Ailey France.
There you go.
So many of whom will be joining us as caucus members in Parliament. I want to thank the people of Grainler, most of whom are here tonight. I've got to say something, it was very special on the way here. There was obviously, I don't know whether there was a drone above us or what have you. My security team said, you know, maybe they're just out on the street. People don't just hang out on New Canterbury Road. And from Lilyfield, Leichhardt, all the way here, I'm sorry, but I won't be moving back for a little while. The people of Greenlow did me an incredible honour in choosing me as their representatives 29 years and 10 elections ago. I've lived in this community in the Inner West my whole life, and it's an incredible privilege to serve a community that you love, and I do love it. To the Labor Party's heart and soul, our rank and file members and the mighty trade union movement of Australia.
Let's see if I can support it, bud.
The Labor Party will always stand up for jobs and people's wages and conditions. Everywhere I have been through this campaign, your energy, your enthusiasm, your dedication to the cause has lifted me up. You inspire all of us in your service of working people, and we thank you. To our magnificent campaign director, National Secretary Paul Erickson. Paul has run an outstanding campaign. Paul and I did tell people May was the right time. And he managed to become a dad during the campaign. He was supported by an absolutely brilliant team. And all of those dedicated people own a part of this victory. And I thank you. To my personal staff, led by Tim Gartrell. The loyalty, the passion, the commitment that you showed. You have a tough job that you perform with grace, with humour, with joy, and just a passion for changing the country for the better. Thank you for what you do. To my son, Nathan. Who's grown into a fine young man who I am just so proud of. Thank you. And to my fiancée, Jodie Hayden. Probably wasn't expecting for this to be in your life half a dozen years ago. I am so grateful for your support, your friendship and your love. You make me so happy. Which matters. You have my heart, I love you, and I look forward to living our lives together.
Well, you know the rules, Gil. Keep your mouth shut and your legs open.
My fellow Australians, Australians have chosen the Australian Labor Party as their government. And our government will choose the Australian way because we are proud of who we are and all that we have built together in this country. We do not need to beg or borrow or copy from anywhere else. We do not seek our inspiration overseas. We find it right here in our values and in our people. Tomorrow, we dedicate ourselves to your service. We renew the great responsibility and the opportunity of government. And with pride and purpose, optimism and determination, with faith in the fair go and faith in each other, we return to the work of building Australia's future. Thank you all.
Well, there he goes.
Yep.
He's stuck with this cunt for another 3 years.
If not a bit more.
Yeah.
Pretty big shift. As he said, he particularly congratulated the lady in Dixon.
He was enjoying that moment. You could see.
Well, yeah, there we go. So I realised I should have put this on alphabetical order. I thought it was automatically on it. That
was on latest.
But yeah, look, guys, it has been updated during those speeches. So ALP are now on 86. Remember, you only needed 76 to win. The coalition on 37. And remember, they had 53 come last election. But here's a little bit of a white pill. The Greens don't have anything yet. Now, earlier, 3 of those seats were called by the ABC. They've gone back now. So I can only imagine those ones that they called are very close. The seat of Griffin, anyway, I know was in contention. And then, yeah, others, mix of minor parties and Teals, are on 10. So,
what is this weird looking map anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure because that is not what the House of Representatives looks like. It doesn't look like that. So I'm not sure what the hell that is. Anyway, I just wanted to go through a few of these. We won't go for much longer. And I'm very sorry Joel didn't join us. He has not seen my messages, so I don't know. Maybe he got bloody arrested by ASIO or something.
As long as it's having a lot of fun, and it's fine.
If that has actually happened, I honestly would not be surprised. So,
hell of a night to do it.
It's a shame because I wanted to ask Joel about the plans to prosecute members of the NSN for handing out those flyers. Because according to Alex Rivkin from the ECAJ, they violated electoral laws, and they're looking for the full force of the law to be applied.
Ooh, fucking hell.
Anyway, I just want to go through just a couple of these. This is an interesting one, the seat of Bass. We can see that there is a massive 10.2% swing to Labor. That's even bigger than in Dixon. But the reason I say this one is interesting is because it's held by, or was held by, Bridget Archer. Before, when I talked about how you had backbenchers in the Liberal Party who opposed Scott Morrison's Religious Freedom Bill, well, she was one of them. She's often been seen as like one of those moderate mavericks in the Liberal Party. Therefore, a piece of shit in my eyes. One of the ones who would feel very at home with the Teals. But anyway, Labor have got that from her.
She's got the flick.
She's got the fleet. I'm just glad to see her go, even if it is the Labor Party who have got that. Bennelong, that is John Howard's former seat. It used to be safe Liberal. It became marginal actually in 2007. That was when the Liberal Party lost to Kevin Rudd. And much like what happened tonight, their leader actually lost their seat too. John Howard lost the seat of Bennelong back in 2007. It went to Maxine McHugh of the Labor Party. And yeah, the ALP took that from the Libs this time. So
Seeming to become a bit of a common bloody theme.
Yeah, it is how they flip these seats from them. Now, Blacksland. This is the one we mentioned a bit because uh, the Muslim vote were mounting their own independent candidate there. However, we can see here it looks like the independent hasn't even scored. The person with the next highest amount of votes is from the Liberal Party,
There
Courtney
goes the
Nguyen,
voice of Australia then.
and still she only sits on 29.9%. Jason Clare is on a whopping 70%. And by the way, if there is a future leader of the Labor Party, if something happens to Albo along the way, that's who I think it'll be. It won't be Chris Bowen. It won't be Tanya Plibersek. It'll be Jason Clare. Okay, let's keep going. Bradfield, I believe that is a teal. So they're just slightly ahead there. Oh, yeah. This is what I was saying before Albo's speech came on. It looks like the Teals have actually retained a lot of these inner city Melbourne and Sydney seats. So I was thinking that maybe all 6 of them would go back to the Libs. So, yeah, I got to eat my words now. I guess I was wrong about that. Even though it looks
I
like
guess
some of them are
people,
pretty close.
I guess people can't tell the difference between blue and teal. Then I guess they're hiding in plain sight.
Sometimes that is a factor. People confuse the parties. I mean, that's basically how the Liberal Democrats won a Senate spot with David Leinhelm.
The
People
clever
thought they were
bastards.
voting for the Liberal Party. So, Sid Clark, Andrew Wilkie. He's not a teal. Andrew Wilkie actually is much more like the Greens, but he campaigns a bit more on internet freedom and anti-pokies stuff.
Oh, quality guy then.
Well, look, I like him better than the Greens, and anti-poking stuff is not talked about enough in Australia because I think they are fucking horrific machines that destroy lives. But unfortunately, he's just a basic bitch greenie on pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
Curtin, yeah. So this is the one I mentioned earlier. This was a seat I used to live in this electorate, and as I said, it didn't surprise me that it went teal. And it looks like they're going to hold on to that. So the member there is Kate Cheney. Let's keep
There's
going.
Dixon up there. Look at the lady who picked the seat from him, Peter Dutton.
Yeah, so 9.2% swing in favour of the Labor Party. So far, 48.7% of the vote has been counted. Peter Dutton is on 42.4%. And Ali France, the Labor Party candidate, 57.6%. That was the point during Dutton's speech where I got really confused. And I was like, wait a minute. He's not just conceding the election, he's conceding his own seat. I had to do a double take when he said, like, the new local member for Dixon. I was like, huh? What?
Yeah,
Isn't
they
that your
held that
seat?
they held that seat for nearly 30 years of blue.
Yeah. Now, granted, it is a marginal seat because if you look over the years, Dutton has only won the seat by like 2 to 3%. I believe he only won it by 2% last time. So all that time, it's been marginal. And, you could say Dutton's been lucky. But I made the point before that I put that down to the fact that he's got a name brand. And that's what has just, pushed him over the line for those 24 years. So, following that logic, the Dutton brand must be very toxic now if he was
Now
able
that
to
people are
lose.
noticing him, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if
people are
he had to
noticing it on
suffer
the
a
ballot, they went red instead.
yeah, I mean, yeah, so he's got the 9.2% swing against him. And also, just overall, I mean, look, the Libs have lost. Wow, it looks like probably around 15 seats. I think they would have ended up losing. So Be interesting to see the autopsy that they do.
Mm.
Even more interesting to see who they elect leader. Because, like I said, like I just can't think of anyone who's leadership material on the
How
front
long until we
bench.
get how long until we get a good view of what the fuck happened? Is it going to take weeks, a month, or a
Um,
couple of days?
I think you're looking at a couple of weeks, and that's because of the amount of postal votes.
Mm.
You get a good idea.
Bloody postal
And
votes in the digital age.
right, I know, and it still amazes me. Like, what actually, when I went today to vote, I pulled out my wallet, like, and I was like, wait a minute, no, I don't show ID, do I? Like
Oh, this is
the
America.
the one area where you really, really should have to check your ID. And I had to remind myself, wait, no, they don't need my ID, do
Yeah,
they?
I bloody had my
Even if
wallet
I
ready
present
to
it,
show ID as well.
even if I
Lady just
pull it
went down
out,
the list and said, "Yep, that's you. Here's your piece of papers."
yeah,
Oi, you
right.
didn't vote before, did you? No. All right, fair enough. Here's your papers.
That's always amazed me from the very first time I voted.
Fucking trust system over here.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you pull your ID out, they will refuse to even look at it. Like, no, we don't do that. What else we got? Fowler, I was talking about that before. That's the one of the Daily one from uh, Christina Keneally.
kicked
So
her out.
she has maintained that, although that does look like, yeah, small, only a small swing though to the ALP.
Bloody Asian fight.
Okay, now this was an interesting one because the seat of Fremantle, the Teals were running an independent candidate here, and as we can see, it looks like even the Liberal Party candidate has polled better. Now that's despite the fact that Climate 200 were pouring a lot of money into that, and also that same member ran for the WA seat of Fremantle. There's actually two Fremantle electorates, one at the state level and one at the federal level. She ran for both and lost both, but she came a lot closer in the state election though.
Yeah.
Goldstein. So we mentioned this one again tonight.
Ooh.
Inner city Melbourne seat. Tim Wilson. So this is now the second time he's been defeated.
Putting the hat on,
He's,
didn't earn you it. Get fucked.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, that's what I was going to say before. Three reasons why I thought a lot of the Teal seats would fall back to the Liberals. Number one, power prices. They've been going up. I figured that a lot of people would blame the Teals for that because of their environmental policies. Two, the amount of money that the Liberal Party were pouring in, like it was like record amounts in all of those Teal seats. And number three, an activated Jewish base. Obviously, in a seat like Goldstein, you've got a lot of Jewish members. I think it was the seat of Kooyong that picked up like a huge increase in Jewish voters because the seat of Higgins was abolished. And, as we've seen, they've basically been running the line that the Teals are soft on anti Semitism. And the Liberal Party is their preferred party to take on that challenge. But, yeah, it looks like so far anyway, these Teal held seats that we've gone through, they've retained them.
Well, maybe we'll see. It's just been a whole lot of giving the flick to the Greens, and that's about it. Not associating it with Labor, not associating it with Liberal. Just, fucking electricity prices are up, fucking Greens.
It might be that. Yeah, could well be that. Okay,
Ooh.
Griffith, ALP ahead. So this is the one that the Greens held. This is also Kevin Rudd's old seat. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, they're actually ahead by quite a lot, aren't they?
Yeah, 40%.
So, I'm
Sinking the
surprised they
dividend.
haven't. I'm surprised they haven't called that yet. Okay.
You must just be coping.
Find some new ones. Indi. I don't think that's a Teal seat. I might be wrong, but Independents held that. Helen Hayes. Kennedy, of course. Good old Bob Catter. He's 79 years old. He's everyone's favourite quadroon leb. All right, we'll make an exception for him. even though his Semitic nose seems to get bigger every day.
His features are just melting into it.
Kooyong, wow, look at that, 2.3% to the independent Monique Ryan. Yeah, this is one of the ones. Huge Jewish base here. Both Monique Ryan and Amelia Hamer were doing debates where they were effectively trying to argue who was the bigger Philo-Semite. We covered a lot of that on the Racist War. So, yeah, that's a surprise. I thought the Libs were going to get that. What else we got? McKellar, independent. Sophie Scamps. I almost said skank there, didn't I? Freudian slip. 2.3% to the independent there. Mayo, this is in South Australia. This has been held on to by Rebecca Sharkey. She's from Centre Alliance, and that was born out of, as I mentioned, Nick Xenophon before. You might remember Nick Xenophon as the guy from Adelaide who was also a big anti-pokies campaigner. Then he kind of developed a broader platform later, but he started as a no pokies guy. Melbourne. Oh, geez, look at that. They might take this from the Greens. Melbourne, if you don't know, is the seat held by Adam Bandt, the leader of the Greens. And
Ooh,
Labor
Greens on suicide watch if that happens. 7.4% swing.
Yeah. Now
that's
there,
getting fucking close. They're going to be counting those mail-ins. Oh.
That might be what you were just saying, like people blaming it on the Greens rather than the Teals. Maybe that's what's happening there. Still, don't know why you would then change your vote to Labor, because they're pretty much just as bad. But anyway, they're on 50.9% and the Greens are on 49.1%. So,
well, that'll be fun to watch in the coming days.
Yeah, definitely. Keep going. Oxley, that is Pauline Hanson's whole seat. Wow.
Straight up red.
Libs have been destroyed there. They're only on 30.8 with Labor on 69.2%. That's like safe seat territory. Even though the Libs did actually... Pauline Hanson held that seat where she was written down as a Liberal Party member, but she'd actually been disendorsed by the time the ballots got out. So a lot of people thought they were voting for the Liberal member, but they were actually voting for an independent. Richmond, okay.
Richmond.
So this is in New South Wales. This is held by the Labor Party, but the Greens are actually ahead. So they may have lost one with Adam Bandt, but they may gain one back from Labor in the seat of Richmond. The seat of Ryan,
I know
one
Richmond.
of the 3 Queensland seats that they hold. Greens are ahead. Looks like they're going to retain that. They're on 57.2%. And the next highest polling party is actually the Liberal Party on 42.8%. Look at that. The seat of Sturt. You know who used to hold that one? Christopher Pyne, the former defence minister. Also quite possibly the most annoying parliamentarian that has ever sat in the House of Reps. He was on like every bloody third episode of Q&A. I saw him on 7:30 the other day talking about how the Libs would take this seat easily. Well, Christopher, you've actually suffered an 8-point swing against you, and it looks like Labor are holding that pretty comfortably on 57.5% to the Coalition's 42.5%. Warringah. Oh man, I can't believe I got all these wrong. Look at that. So again, this is a Teal seat held by Zali Steggall. This is the one we were talking about before, how Get Up were the ones who could have won this one before Climate 200 came into the picture. And yeah, she's actually got a 2.9% swing in her favour. She holds that on 62.3%. to the Liberal Party, 37.7.
All right, they're giving her more of a chance.
So Wentworth, this was Malcolm Turnbull's old seat, also Dave Sharma's old seat, also Karen Phelps' old seat. She was also one of the very first Teals who was elected.
Wentworth, Malcolm Turnbull. Have you got that right? I could probably misremembering it then. Thought it was a different.
No, Wentworth is Turnbull. Wentworth. Wentworth. This is an interesting electorate for a lot of reasons. It's the biggest. It's got more Jewish voters than any other electorate.
Yeah, it's got a Bondi in it, if I remember correctly.
They sometimes refer to it as Nose Bay because the suburb of Rose Bay is there. And this again, just like with Kooyong, the two members here, Allegra Spender and Ro Knox is from the Liberal Party, they also had public debates where they just tried to argue who was the bigger philo-Semite. And this was also where they distributed those illegal 47,000 pamphlets attacking the Teals as being soft on anti-Semitism. And we covered on the latest Racist War how apparently the AEC, the Electoral Commission, is not interested in punishing who was responsible for distributing them.
Not even going to tell anybody about it.
Because they weren't authorized. You're supposed to, like, it's campaign law. You must write who it is actually authorized by. And
you know what?
Pamphlets do not do that.
I might have a mate who probably got one of those pamphlets.
Really?
Bug him and see if, should bug him and see if he got it.
You've got a mate who lives in Nose Bay?
Not all the way over there. It is pretty crooked looking, but he's still moseying around the area, so worth hitting him up and see if rifling through his garbage.
Yeah. Look, what was I going to say? Yeah, look, this is what I wanted to ask Joel is like, they're aiming anyway to prosecute members of the NSN for fanning out flyers that were clearly a joke, and they're trying to say that was a breach of electoral law. Well, Allegra Spender herself, the Teal Independent, was actually saying, why won't they even name the person? Because apparently the AEC does know who did it and has contacted them, but they're not even releasing their name, meaning that they're not getting referred to the police. So it is obviously a Jewish individual or organization who has distributed them.
They went through the leaflet.
They're not even getting doxed over it. They're not even getting fucking doxed.
They went through the leaflet printer guy. They gave him it. And then, it's free real estate. Why wouldn't they do it forever onwards?
Yeah. All right. And look, guys, we're at the end of the list there. So that's about where we will leave it, I think. Thank you very much for stepping in, Fluoride, because Nolsey was not able to make it today.
Just like the other bloke, I hope he's having a lot of fun.
Yes. So I'm sorry, guys, that Joel didn't join us either. But listen, we probably are not going to do a Racist War on Monday. That usually you get it Tuesday morning, just because I've got a lot of things on. So just look out for it a little bit later in the week. We will do one, and we will do like a recap on everything. So
it'd be good to see how Melbourne goes.
It will. So yeah, thanks for joining us on that longish stream. I'm sorry if the result was not exactly what you were expecting, but what you expect. See you next time.